Robb Stark watched the last of the torches snake away into the gathering dark, a slow river of gold and red and crowned stags winding south along the King's Road. The chill on the battlements bit through leather and wool and fur, but he barely felt it. His breath steamed in the air, joining the mist that rose from Winterfell's hot stones, and he kept his hand clenched tight around the rough edge of the crenellation until his fingers ached. The royal banners were vanishing now, swallowed by the distant trees, the crowned stag of House Baratheon, the crimson lion of Lannister, the wheelhouse crawling like some gaudy, overfed beetle between ranks of steel-clad men. South. They were all riding south. His father, his sisters, the king who had laughed too loudly and drunk too much and clapped Robb on the shoulder as if he were some hunting dog. The queen with the cold green eyes who had glided through Winterfell's halls like a blade wrapped in silk. Robb's jaw tightened as he thought of her looking down on them all. The memory of her face as she stood beside the king in the yard rose up unbidden. Her smile not reaching her eyes, her fingers resting lightly on Joffrey's shoulder as if he were a prized hawk on a perch, ready to fly at her bidding. She had watched Bran climb once, Robb remembered, that first day in the yard. Watched with a little curl at the corner of her mouth that was not quite disapproval and not quite amusement either. Bran had fallen not long after. A gust of wind brought the faint echo of a horn from far down the King's Road, and then even that was gone. Winterfell seemed suddenly too large, too empty. No king's laughter, no southern horses crowding the stables, no strange scents of Dornish wine and spiced pork drifting from the kitchens. Only the low rumble of the Godswood waterfall, the soft clink of steel from the practice yard where a handful of men-at-arms still went through their drills, and the distant, muffled moan of Hodder carrying some burden through the keep. Behind him, boots scraped on stone. "You'll freeze solid if you stand there much longer, my lord," Theon Greyjoy called, swaggering as he came, cloak thrown back as if the cold were a game he meant to win by sheer arrogance. "Then I'll have to be Lord of Winterfell in your stead." "Can't have that." Robb did not turn. "You'd last a day," he said. "Two, if you remembered not to smile when you spoke to the Umbers." "The Umbers like my smile," Theon said. "They say it reminds them of a wolf that's forgotten it's on a leash." "They like your bow better than your smile," Robb answered, but the words were distant. The torches had vanished entirely now. Only darkness remained on the road. He thought of Bran again, lying still as carved wood on the bed in Maester Luwin's tower, eyes closed, ribs rising and falling so shallowly it made Robb's own breath catch. He thought of the broken tower, the shattered stones, the blood. He thought of the dagger. Theon's swagger faltered a little as the silence stretched. He came to stand beside Robb, leaning on the crenel, looking south in turn. "You're thinking of your father," he said. "And the girl." "My sisters," Robb said. "And the girl is a woman. The queen." The words tasted hard in his mouth. Theon snorted. "A lioness more like. I'd not call that one a woman to her face unless I meant to bed her." Robb turned at that, eyes flashing, and Theon lifted his hands in quick apology. "Peace, lad. I mean no harm. Only she's dangerous, that one. I watched her when she looked at you, at your father, at the crippled boy. There's a mind there and teeth behind it. Better she's gone." Robb looked back to the dark where the lions had vanished. "She's not gone," he said quietly. "She's only farther away, and we have no proof." "Proof of what?" Theon asked. Robb's fingers tightened on the stone until his knuckles whitened. "Of what she is, of what they did, to Bran, to Jon Arryn, to whoever else stands in their way." Theon said nothing to that. They'd all heard the whispers after the assassin with the dagger had come in the night. Catelyn Stark had not kept her fears in her own breast. Robb knew every line of that accursed blade, every glitter of its edge, every strange rippling pattern in its steel. Valyrian, Luwin had said. Lannister, Catelyn had said. Proof, Ned Stark had demanded. Proof they did not have. Not yet. Robb stared out into the dark until his eyes stung. "They're riding south," he said at last. "Toward the neck, toward our walls, toward Moat Cailin." Theon raised a brow. "Aye. As men do when they intend to leave the north. There's only one road. And only one road back, Robb murmured. An idea, wild and half-formed, had been coiling in the back of his mind for days now, ever since his mother had left in secret for King's Landing and left him with Winterfell's keys in his hand. It stirred now like a beast in its den, stretching, testing its strength. If they mean us harm, if they mean my father harm, they must still travel our lands. Theon laughed. What do you plan to do? Ride them down in the bogs like some Crannog outlaw? Fancy yourself Howland Reed, do you? Robb did not answer. The wind plucked at his hair and cloak, tugging him, urging him. South, it whispered. South. Below, a direwolf howled, long and low. Gray wind. Robb felt the sound vibrate in his bones. He closed his eyes and, for a moment, he saw it. Not the royal party riding untroubled down the King's Road, but a separate litter, pulled a little apart from the rest. Silks and gold, and a woman's thin mouth pressed in displeasure at the jostling. Men in crimson cloaks riding close about it, not expecting danger, not here in the lands of Winterfell where the name Stark still had meaning. The beast coiled in him opened its eyes. The rushes in Maester Luwin's chamber rustled softly as Robb paced, boots wearing a path between the iron brazier and the narrow slit window. Beyond the glass, the morning had gone from gray to white. Snowflakes clung to the panes in a lace of frost. The air smelled of ink and parchment, of hot iron and dried herbs, and faintly, of the sharp tang of the powder Luwin burned to keep the sickness from Bran's still body in the adjoining room. Say it again. Theon was telling the Maester, lounging in a chair as if they were discussing a hunt instead of treason. If one wished to intercept a party on the King's Road between here and Moat Cailin, where would it be easiest? I ask purely for my own education, mind you. Maester Luwin frowned over the parchment, his chain of office clinking against the wood of the table. This is folly, he muttered, but his hand moved nonetheless, tracing the line of the King's Road from Winterfell down past the marshes. Here, he said at last, tapping a point where the road narrowed between two sprawling swamps. The ground is treacherous on either side. Men must pass here in single file if the weather's been wet. There are rises where archers might hide. But you forget the royal guard, my lord. The King's Guard are not so easily taken unawares. Robb had stopped pacing to come stand over the table, his shadow falling across the painted woods and mountains. They cannot guard every side at once, he said. Not if the bogs close in. Not if the Crannogmen help us. The Crannogmen, Luwin said, as if tasting something sour. You mean Lord Howland Reed. It has been years since he left his swamps. Robb. He is no errand boy to be whistled up like a hound. He may not even answer you. He will, Robb said. He was at the Tower of Joy with my father. He owes his life to Eddard Stark. He will answer. Assuming he receives your raven in time, Luwin said. Assuming he believes you wise enough not to have lost your wits entirely. Robb, listen to me. Even to think of this is dangerous. To speak of seizing the queen, of laying hands on royal blood. It is rebellion. Treason. If your father heard of it. If my father were here, Robb snapped, then caught himself and forced his voice softer. If my father were here, we would not be having this talk. He would ride south to face this danger alone and leave us to tend the north. He would trust and trust and trust again. He trusted the king when he came, trusted the Lannisters when they smiled and bowed and brought their gold. And Bran lies there because of that. He could not stop his eyes from flicking toward the bed beyond the half-open door. Bran's small shape under the furs was a still mound, barely rising and falling. Maester Luwin, following his gaze, sighed. We do not know that, the Maester said, but the protest was perfunctory. They all knew. The Catspaw's dagger had done what a fall from a tower had not. Only Catelyn's return at that moment had saved Bran's life, and hers. Only the howling of dire wolves in the night, steel and fate and wolves. The dagger was Lannister, Robb said. He had said it so many times it might as well have been a prayer. Or a curse. Tyrion denied it. Perhaps he told the truth. But it was Lannister work, Lannister coin somewhere. And it was the queen who looked up at my brother as he climbed. The queen who wanted him gone. My mother believes it. I believe it. How many more Starks must fall before we say enough? Luwin pressed fingers to his temples. The candlelight picked out the lines at the corners of his eyes. Lines Robb had never noticed before. Even if you were right, he said softly. What you propose is madness. Take the queen, and you bring the king's wrath down on us. On every holdfast that flies your banner. Not if we hold her in the north, Robb said. Not if we move quickly and quietly before word spreads. The king does not love his wife. He loves my father. He loves his hunt and his wine. If we have proof, if we can wring it from her somehow, if we can place it in my father's hands while he stands beside Robert, we might prevent a war rather than start one. And if you are wrong? Luwin asked. Robb felt the weight of the question settle over him like new-forged mail. If he was wrong, he would be a rebel before he was a man, a traitor before he grew a full beard. Winterfell would burn. The north would bleed. The direwolf's head would rot on a spike over the Red Keep's gate. He looked to Theon, almost despite himself. The Ironborn only grinned, eyes bright with the reckless joy of risk. I say do it, he said. The old kings of winter would not have sat quiet while a lioness snapped at their pups in the dark. They'd have dragged her to the kennels and taught her how wolves fight. This is not a game, Theon, Robb said, but the words rang hollow. The old kings would not have hesitated. They'd have sent their ravens, called their banners, marched south in mail and leather. But those kings had not been raised on stories of honor and oaths as much as on tales of conquest. Eddard Stark had ruled a long peace. Robb did not know truly what it meant to start a war. Only that it began, sometimes, with a single choice. I do not mean banners, he said slowly. Not yet. Only a ride. A training ride, as we told Ser Roderick we'd take when the snows eased. 30 men. 40. Lightly armed. We shadow the royal party from afar. Let them pass the last river. Let them enter the neck. And there, with the Crannogmen's help, we strike. But only at one part of the line. Luwin's eyes narrowed. You would split the king from his queen? Not the king, Robb said. He rides with his guard and half the train. But the wheelhouse slows them. I saw Ser Barristan's face when he watched those horses strain. They'll send some of the party ahead. Maybe the prince. Maybe the girl. Maybe the queen herself, if she grows tired of the jolting. She does not look like a woman who bears discomfort. The Maester's sigh was a long, slow exhale. You are building castles on a cloud. Perhaps, Robb said, but I would rather build them myself than wait for the Lannisters to build a gallows under us. The brazier popped as a coal split, sending up a sour, smoky scent. Luwin looked from Robb's set face to Theon's eager grin to the door where Bran lay still. I am your maester, he said at last. Not your lord father. Cannot forbid you. I can only counsel. So I say this. If you must ride, ride quietly. Leave no raven to betray you. Speak of your true purpose to no one save those who must know. And if the gods show you mercy and the chance never comes, turn around and come home without so much as knocking an arrow. Robb nodded once. And if the chance does come? Luwin's chain rattled as he straightened. Then gods help us all, he said. You will have set your feet on a road from which there is no easy turning. The neck closed around them like a hand. The northlands gave way by degrees. First the pines thinned, then the hardwoods, then even the stunted birches grew scarce, and the ground under the horses' hooves softened from hard-packed earth to something that sucked and squelched and groaned with every step. Pools of still, dark water reflected a low gray sky. Reeds whispered. Somewhere out in the mist, frogs sang a monotonous chorus that set Robb's teeth on edge. He had left Winterfell 3 days after the king's departure, riding south at the head of 30 men. No trumpets had sounded when they passed beneath the gatehouse. No banners had flown. They wore boiled leather and thick cloaks instead of mail, carried hunting spears and shortbows instead of long swords with shining pommels. They were ostensibly a training party, a lord with his companions and a handful of guards, riding to see the old stones of Moat Cailin and test their mettle in the bogs. Ser Rodrik had watched them go with a frown buried in his mustache. "Take care, my lord," he'd said. "These lands are treacherous. It would not do to have the heir to Winterfell sink in some Crannogmen bog like a sack of stones." "I will take care," Robb had promised. He'd meant it, but he had not told the old knight what sort of care he meant to take. Now, as his horse labored through a patch of sucking mud that came halfway up its fetlocks, he thought of that promise and wondered what Ser Rodrik would say if he knew the truth. If he knew that Robb's eyes were not on the mist-wreathed towers of Moat Cailin ahead, but on the King's Road behind, where a royal party should be cutting its way south even now. Grey wind ranged ahead of them, sometimes vanishing entirely into the fog only to reappear an instant later, as if the mists themselves had spat him out. The great direwolf's fur, damp with clinging droplets, darkened to near black along his flanks, his eyes twin embers in the gloom. He moved with the ease of a beast born to this place, untroubled by bog or bramble. The men did not. They cursed softly as they rode, trading muttered jests that died quickly in the heavy air. Torrin Little from the mountain clans, with his crooked nose and hair like black straw, spit into the water and made a sign against ghosts every time they passed a half-sunken tree stump. Darren Hornwood muttered under his breath about how he preferred a good solid forest under his horse, not this treacherous spongy ground. Even Theon was quieter than usual, his usual laughter dulled. "When do your frog-eaters show themselves?" he asked at last, pulling his mount up beside Robb's. "We've been riding through their cursed bogs since midday. I had thought they would have loosed a dozen arrows into my arse by now." "They're watching," Robb said. "And how would you know that?" Theon asked. Robb did not answer with words. He simply raised his hand and pointed to a patch of reeds off to their left, where the water lay flat and still and the mud sucked softly. To most eyes, there was nothing there but plants and mud and water. But if you looked closely, if you narrowed your eyes and let them unfocus just enough, you could glimpse the faintest hint of movement, a ripple where there should have been none, the suggestion of eyes low to the water. "They've been there since we crossed the third causeway," Robb said. "At least one, likely more. My father told me once that the Crannogmen are never alone. If you see one, there are three you do not." Theon shifted uneasily in his saddle. "I do not like an enemy I cannot see." "They are not enemies," Robb said. He hoped it was true. He reined in his horse and lifted his hand. The column slowed behind him, hooves squelching to a halt, men shifting in their saddles. "My name is Robb Stark," he called into the mist. His voice sounded odd here, swallowed quickly by the bogs, but it carried. "Son of Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell. We come seeking the friendship of Howland Reed." Nothing moved for a heartbeat, 2-3. The frogs croaked on. The wind stirred the reeds with a soft susurration. Then a voice, thin and reedy as the land it came from, drifted back to them. "Winterfell's boy has a wolf's nose," it said. "He scents eyes in the water and thinks them friendly. That could be a costly mistake." A figure rose from the bog as if conjured from the mud itself. A man in leather and scale, reed-woven cloak hanging in dripping tatters about his shoulders. His face painted with green and brown stripes that broke his features into strange patterns. He stood on a hummock of firmer ground no wider than a shield, water lapping at his boots. A short spear was balanced lightly in his hand. As Robb watched, more shapes emerged. Here a woman with a net at her belt, there a youth half submerged to the chest, only his eyes above the water. It was like seeing ghosts drift into existence. Robb breathed out slowly. "Lord Reed?" he asked. The man on the hummock tilted his head, studying him. "My Lord Father is elsewhere," he said. "He does not answer every call that comes squawking on black wings. I am Jojen's uncle, Jory Reed. Howland has bid me see what Winterfell's boy wants in our bogs." Behind Robb, Theon murmured, "Not even the Lord deigns to greet us. We should turn around and—" Robb silenced him with a glance. He nudged his horse forward a step, careful of the footing, until he was close enough to see the lines on the Crannogmen's face. They were not so different in age, he realized with a faint start. The paint and the mud made the other man seem older. "What I want is dangerous to speak aloud," Robb said. "But I will speak it nonetheless. My father once saved Lord Howland's life. He told me the tale when I was a boy. I ask now for a fraction of that debt repaid. Not for myself, but for the North, and for the man your lord knew." Jory Reed's eyes narrowed. "Speak, then. We have long memories in the neck, sometimes longer than is goo. D for us." Robb drew a breath. "The king's party rides south toward you," he said. "Among them is the Queen, Cersei Lannister. I believe she has done my house great wrong. I believe she means us more. I would have her taken, quietly, alive, and unseen by the king or his guard. For that, I need the bogs. And I need you." The frogs' chorus seemed to falter then, as if even they were listening. The Crannogmen exchanged glances, unreadable behind their paint. "You ask much," Jory Reed said. "To lay hands on a queen is to spit in the face of the Iron Throne. The Lannisters' gold reaches long. Their memory is long as ours, but more cruel. Why should we risk it for Stark quarrels? Because if the lions sink their claws into the north, they will bleed you too," Robb said. "The neck is our shield. If Winterfell falls, the bogs burn. My father believes in oaths and the king's honor. I believe in what I see. I saw the way the queen looked at my brother when he climbed. I saw the blade that came to finish him. I believe if we do nothing, more of us will fall. Starks, Reeds, all." He let the words hang there. The bogs pressed close, waiting. At last, Jory Reed huffed something like a laugh. "You speak bold for a boy who still has milk on his breath," he said. "But the wolf's whelps have sharp teeth, it seems. My lord father was at the Tower of Joy. He remembers Eddard Stark's sword between him and death. For that, he has bid us give you this much. We will watch the King's Road. If the column splits, as you say, if the queen rides apart, we will show you where the land is weakest, where horses flounder and men sink. If any blood is spilled, it will be on your hands, not ours." Robb nodded, relief and dread twisting together in his gut. "That is enough," he said. "Perhaps more than enough," Jory Reed answered. "One thing more, Stark boy. The neck has its own laws. While you walk our bogs, your wolf's howl does not rule as loudly as you think. Do not forget it." Robb met his gaze steadily. "I won't," he said. Gray wind prowled up beside him then, dripping water, eyes fixed unblinking on the painted man. Jory Reed looked down at the direwolf, then back up at Robb. Some flicker of respect passed between them, primitive and wordless. "Then come," the Crannogmen said. "The king's party is 2 days behind you. We had best be ready if you are truly mad enough to seize a queen in her husband's own land." Cersei Lannister hated the north, but she thought she might hate the neck more. The wheelhouse had jolted and lurched its way over the northern roads, but at least there had been trees and open fields beyond the curtains, a sky that did not press down like a sodden blanket. Here, the air itself seemed hostile, thick with damp and the stench of rot. The horses strained with every step. She could feel their efforts through the frame as the carriage listed and heaved, its wheels sinking deep into mud that clung like grasping hands. "It smells," Myrcella said beside her, wrinkling her small, perfect nose. She held a book in her lap, pages limp from the humidity. "Close the curtain," Cersei snapped. Her daughter obeyed, but the smell did not go away. It was in the wood, in the cushions, in the very silk of Cersei's gown. The neck stank of decay and secrets, of people who lived half-sunk in water and mud, people who watched from behind reeds and did not bow when the king passed. "This is an ill-omened place," she said aloud, more to herself than to the children. "Your grandsire should have burned it flat when he had the chance." Tommen, drowsy and sweat-slick, lifted his head from where it rested against her arm. "Grandfather can do anything," he murmured. "He'll make the road better." Cersei smoothed his damp hair back from his brow. "He cannot tame a bog, sweetling, but he can tame the men in it. And he will if they give him cause. She thought of her father then, far away in the Westerlands, sitting in his tower with ledgers and maps spread before him. When she closed her eyes, she could see those long, thoughtful fingers steepled beneath his chin, his pale eyes moving from figures to names to banners. He was the true king of the realm, whatever stag wore the crown. If he had seen the way the North had greeted Robert, with open gates and feasts and bawdy laughter, yes, but also with stone-faced lords who weighed the Lannister lions with their eyes and did not smile, he would already be planning. How many swords in the North? How many in the Vale? How to turn one against the other? He would not have liked Eddard Stark being made hand. He would have liked even less that Catelyn Stark had slipped south after them like a thief in the night. Cersei's mouth tightened. The wolf lady had eyes like cold water and a spine of ice. It would not do to underestimate her. Joffrey was not in the wheelhouse. He rode outside with his sworn shield, Ser Meryn, too proud to sit in confinement when there were bogs to despise and peasants to glare at. Cersei had wanted him by her side, where she could keep his tongue in check, but Robert had laughed and clapped the boy on the back and called him a young lion already. So be it. Let the king bask in his fake pride. It cost her nothing, and she could smooth Joff's rough edges later. "Mother," Myrcella said timidly, "will Bran Stark get better?" A flash of cold went through her, quick as a knife. For an instant she saw the boy as he had been, clinging to the tower, small hands and bare toes on the stone. She saw Jaime's face above him, shocked and foolish and soft. Then the memory shifted. The boy fell. Cersei had not watched that. She had turned away. "Yes," she said, keeping her voice smooth. "The gods favor the innocent, sweet. He will wake. Forget him." The lie sat on her tongue like a stone. Catelyn Stark's sudden appearance in King's Landing, her accusation spitters and hissing, had unsettled her more than she would ever admit. The dagger, the dwarf, pieces moved on a board she thought she had arranged. She had told Robert nothing. She would not give him that weapon against her, not when he loved the Stark so. But the wrongness of it lingered. How much did the wolves know? How much did they suspect? She reached for the curtain almost without realizing it, flicking it aside with 2 fingers. Outside, the bogs stretched to the horizon, gray and brown and green, water and mud and reeds and the occasional twisted tree. Men rode ahead and alongside, cloaks dark with damp, lances tilted. Ser Barristan Selmy led the van. She could see his white cloak, sodden but still bright, as he guided them along the precarious raised path. Beside the wheelhouse rode a knot of Lannister guardsmen in crimson cloaks, the color dulled by the mist but still absurdly garish against the muted swamp. One of them glanced back as if sensing her gaze. She recognized Ser Boros Blunt's heavy jowls beneath his helmet. "Faster," she called to him. "I will not crawl through this filth like a sow in a sty. Have the drivers lash the horses." "My lady," he began. "The ground. Do as I say." He swallowed, reddened, and spurred his horse forward. The wheelhouse lurched as the drivers obeyed, the jolt pitching Tommen against her side. He squeaked, then bit his lip, trying to be brave. Cersei smoothed his hair again and smiled down at him, the same smile she wore at court. "Courage, my lion," she said. "We will be free of this by tomorrow. Once we pass Moat Cailin, the south begins. King's Landing. The Red Keep. Home. Home. Not Casterly Rock, not truly, not anymore." The Red Keep had become her cage, yes, but it was also her stage, her place of power. Here, in the sodden wild, she felt strangely exposed, vulnerable. If some arrow were to fly out of those reeds now, some Crannogmen's crude weapon, it would be a stupid, meaningless death. Her fingers strayed to the small blade hidden in the folds of her gown. Not the ornate lion-handled thing she wore at her belt sometimes, but a thinner dagger, narrow and wicked, that no one knew about. If the North meant to bite, she would not go to her knees like some bleeding doe. The wheelhouse jolted again. Outside, the frogs sang, and the gray air pressed closer, and the road narrowed between 2 wider pools of black water. Cersei let the curtain fall. She closed her eyes and imagined King's Landing, the glitter of the Blackwater into sun, the bells of the Sept, her father's cool voice saying, "You did well, daughter." If there was trouble ahead, she would meet it as she met everything else, with steel behind her smile. The moment came in the thinning of the day. They had watched the royal party for half a day from behind curtains of reeds and veils of mist, Crannogmen eyes low to the water, northern men pressed flat on hummocks and in the shadow of twisted trees. Robb lay on his belly on a strip of firmer ground, damp soaking through his cloak, gray wind stretched out beside him as motionless as a carved figurehead. Through the low fog he saw the white of Ser Barristan's cloak at the head of the column, then the dull gleam of steel helms and spear points. Then came the king's banner, the crowned stag, drooping in the damp. The wheelhouse creaked and groaned behind, horses laboring with every step. "They're slowing," Jory Reid whispered at his ear, his breath a faint ghost against Robb's cheek. "The road narrows ahead, there between those two old trees. The mud is deepest on either side. They must pass one by one." Robb's heart beat steady and hard. He had thought he would be shaking now or sick, but there was only a cold clarity in him. Beside him, gray wind's hackles were up, lips peeled back in a silent snarl. "Watch the wheelhouse," Robb murmured. They did not have to wait long. At a gesture from Ser Barristan, the column checked. Voices drifted back. Orders, curses, the whinny of a startled horse. The path ahead had narrowed to little more than a shelf of earth raised above dark water. One wrong step and a man might find his mount mired to the belly in sucking mud. The van picked its way forward slowly, one horse at a time. Behind, a knot of gold and crimson broke away from the main line. Robb saw Ser Boros ride back to the wheelhouse, saw him shout something up toward the curtained window. A moment later, the carriage halted. The king's banner and the white cloak moved on, vanishing slowly into the fog ahead, leaving the wheelhouse and its escort stranded in the bottleneck. "They'll send some ahead," Robb whispered, the words barely sound. "Too slow else. They'll want the queen out of this as soon as may be." As if in answer, the front door of the wheelhouse creaked open. A figure stepped down into the muck, displeasure in every line of her back. Even at this distance, through mist and murk, Robb knew her. Cersei Lannister's hair gleamed like a spill of beaten gold in the dim light, her gown a richer, deeper green than the reeds around her. Myrcella followed, clutching her skirts. Tommen stumbled, saved from a fall only by Ser Boros's quick hand. "Well," the queen's voice carried, sharp and impatient. "Is this the best road the Warden of the North can offer us? I will not sleep in this filth." "There's a rise ahead, your grace," Ser Boros said, bowing from the saddle. "If we push on a little farther." "Then push," she snapped. "On horseback. I will not crawl like a beetle in that box if there is firmer ground ahead. We ride." She swung herself up onto a waiting palfrey with a practiced motion, hardly sparing a glance for the men about her. The girl followed, hands white on the reins. Tommen was hoisted into the saddle by a guardsman, his legs sticking straight out. A half-dozen Lannister men formed up about them, lances ready, crimson cloaks heavy with damp. Robb's fingers tightened on the bow at his side. One shot, he thought, and this ends in blood. One arrow in that golden head and there will be no turning back, no lies to smooth this over. He imagined it for an instant, the queen toppling from her horse, the shriek, the chaos. The North plunging at once not into a cold war of ravens and whispers, but immediate open rebellion. That was not why he had come. "Not yet," he breathed, though no one had spoken. "No arrows unless I give the word. We take them alive." Jory Reid's eyes flicked sideways. "Alive takes longer," he said. "The bog does not always wait politely." "Then we shall be quick," Robb answered. The queen urged her horse forward. The little party picked its way ahead of the wheelhouse, moving carefully through the narrowest part of the causeway, horses flanking her, lances pointing outward. They were wary. But wary of what? Crannog raiders with crude spears and half-rotten boats, no doubt. not of a Stark in boiled leather and a dire wolf with blood on his teeth. Grey Wind's muscles bunched under Robb's hand. The direwolf's ears pricked, his entire body quivering with restrained violence. Now Robb thought, "Blow it," he whispered. Jory Reed raised a small bone whistle to his lips and breathed out. The sound it made was barely a sound at all, more felt than heard. A thin, fluting note that wove through the fog. The bogs answered. Shapes rose from water and mud and reeds. Crannogmen with spears and nets. Northern riders pushing their mounts up onto the causeway from hidden hollows. Arrows hissed. Not toward men but toward horses, shafts thudding into haunch and shoulder. A Lannister mount screamed and went over, dragging its rider with it into the sucking mud. Another reared, throwing its man. For Winterfell. Someone shouted, and it was only later that Robb realized it had been his own voice. He spurred his horse forward, Grey Wind bounding ahead of him with a snarl that tore the air. Men scrambled, swore, reached for swords. The narrowness of the path was their enemy now. There was nowhere to wheel, nowhere to charge. "Protect the Queen," Ser Boros bellowed, dragging his sword from its scabbard. He barely had time to lift it before Grey Wind hit him. Robb saw the impact in a series of bright, frozen moments. The flash of steel, the explosion of red as the direwolf's jaws closed on the man's forearm, the way the horse beneath him panicked, twisting away from the sudden weight. Ser Boros toppled with a shout, his sword flying from his grasp, Grey Wind worrying his arm like a bone. The Queen's horse danced sideways, eyes rolling. Cersei fought it with clenched teeth, seat steady despite the chaos. She had a blade in her hand, small and bright, pulled from Meware in her gown. Her hair clung damply to her cheeks. "Back!" she snarled at the nearest of her men, slashing at a Crannogman who lunged with a net. She caught him across the cheek, blood mixed with paint. Robb rode straight at her. An arrow flashed past his ear, startling him. He saw a Crannog youth lower his bow, face pale beneath the mud. The shot had gone wide on purpose. They were keeping their promise. No killing unless he chose it. The Queen turned as he bore down on her, face flushed, eyes wild. For the first time, Robb saw not the smooth, distant mask she wore at court but the fury beneath, naked and blazing. She looked almost beautiful in that moment, and terrible. "You dare!" she hissed as Grey Wind growled at her horse's legs, forcing the animal to lurch sideways, muscles bunching. "You dare lay hands on." He did not give himself the chance to think. He reached out, seized her wrist, twisted. The dagger fell, splashing into the mud. Her horse reared, front hooves striking the air, and for an instant they were both weightless, hanging between one heartbeat and the next. Then the horse came down. Robb leaned out of the saddle, wrapped an arm around Cersei's waist, and hauled her bodily from her mount. She slammed into him, sharp edges and silks and the scent of sweat and something floral. For a moment they tangled, his grip slipping on the slick fabric. Then Grey Wind leaped, snapping at the bit of her horse, driving the animal away, leaving her clutched awkwardly across Robb's saddle, half sprawled over his knees. "Myrcella!" she screamed, twisting, clawing at him. "Tommen!" Robb's men were already there. Torrhen Little had Myrcella's reins, the girl white-faced and wide-eyed. Darren Hornwood plucked Tommen from his saddle as easily as if the boy were a sack of grain, ignoring the child's frightened kicks. "Fall back," Robb shouted. "Back to the reeds. Go!" They did not need telling twice. Crannogmen melted away into water and mud, dragging two struggling Lannister men with them, their mouths stuffed with cloth to silence their cries. Northern riders wheeled their horses with practiced economy, pulling away from the causeway, back toward the half-hidden trail that led into the bogs. For a heartbeat, Robb's gaze met that of Ser Barristan Selmy, far ahead where the fog was thinner. The old knight had turned at the sound of the commotion. He sat his horse like a statue, white cloak stirring. Even at this distance, Robb thought he saw something like recognition in the man's eyes. Then the mist thickened, and the path turned, and they were gone. The queen writhed against him like a trapped cat. She spat something in his face in a language he did not know. Her teeth found his hand. Pain flared. "Stop," he said through his teeth. "You'll fall." "Then let me fall," she hissed. "Better the bog than your filthy hands, you northern little." Grey Wind snapped his jaws closed inches from her ankle with a deep, rumbling growl. The horse shied. Cersei froze. "Enough," Robb said, and there was something in his voice that made even him take note. "You are a hostage, not prey. Bite me again, and you may find that distinction lost on my wolf." The stronghold was not a castle in the way Robb understood castles. There were no high curtain walls, no gatehouse with portcullis, no proud towers thrusting up at the sky. Instead, the bog simply thickened, the water deepening around islands of firmer ground, until at last a shape loomed out of the dusk. A squat, lopsided tower of stone and packed earth half swallowed by reeds, its lower courses slick with moss and lichen, its upper windows narrow slits that glowed faintly with torchlight. Bridges of woven reeds and lashed logs linked one hummock to another, dipping and swaying underfoot. Boats were pulled up beneath overhanging willows, their hulls slim and shallow. The air smelled of wood smoke and fish and something green and ancient. "Welcome to Greywater Watch," Jory Reid said, his teeth flashing pale against the paint on his face. "Such as it is." Cersei, bound at the wrists with leather thongs, stared at the tower in disbelief. Mud streaked her gown to the knee. Her hair hung in damp, tangled ropes, and a darkening bruise showed high on one cheek where she had struck Robb's breastplate in the struggle. Even so, she held herself as if she were an empress approaching her palace. "This is a midden," she said, "not a holding fit for a queen. You think to keep me in that stump. I think to keep you somewhere no Lannister man-at-arms can easily reach," Robb said. His own clothes clung to him, sodden and stained. His muscles ached. His hands were raw where the bindings had bit as he tied them. He was bone-tired, but he would not show it. Behind them, Tommen sniffled, trying not to cry. Myrcella rode silent, lips pressed thin, eyes huge in her pale face. They had bound the children's wrists as well, but loosely, more for show than need. Darren Hornwood rode beside them, his expression softer than Robb had ever seen it. When Tommen's horse stumbled on a patch of uneven ground, Darren's hand went out at once to steady the boy. "It will be all right, lad," he muttered. "We'll not let you sink." "We should separate them," murmured Jory Reid. "The queen from the cubs. Hostages are easier when they do not have claws in each other." Robb shook his head. "No, they are more likely to be quiet if they know their children are near. And I will not have the small folks' tales say that Robb Stark tore lion cubs from their dam's breast." Jory made a non-committal noise. "As you like, but do not let your honor drown you here, Stark boy. The water does that well enough." They dismounted on a patch of firmer earth near the tower's base, horses led away by silent Crannogmen whose eyes missed nothing. Grey Wind shook himself, sending droplets flying, then padded to Robb's side, tongue lolling slightly. The direwolf's fur was streaked with muck and blood, some of it his, most not. Cersei eyed the wolf with naked loathing. "Savages," she said under her breath. "Mudmen and beasts. Robert never should have left his capital." "You speak treason, your grace," Robb said. "Careful. The bogs have ears." She turned that hard green gaze on him. "And what would you know of treason, boy?" she asked. "You are a child playing at war. You have stolen the king's wife and children. Do you think there is a name for that in any tongue but treason?" "I think there are other names," Robb said. "Justice, protection, insurance." "Insurance," she repeated, tasting the unfamiliar word. "And what do you imagine you have insured yourself against?" "You know," he said, "you know what was done to my brother, to Jon Arryn, perhaps to others I do not even guess at. You know who holds the strings in King's Landing. You know why my mother rode south in secret. My father is an honorable man, perhaps too honorable for the snake's nest your city has become. So I will give him something he can use. Proof, leverage, A reason for the king to listen when he names your crimes. She laughed then, sudden and sharp. The startled Tommen, he flinched. You believe Robert listens to anyone, she said. You are more innocent than your crippled brother, Lord Stark. My husband hears only what he wants. He hears the clash of steel, the ring of coin, the pop of a wineskin. Speak to him of treason, and he will look for the nearest head he can chop off to make it stop. Your father, perhaps, or mine, or yours. It makes no difference to him. It will, Robb said, though doubt pricked him, if he has any love for us left. For the man he called brother. Love? She sneered. You poor, stupid boy. Take them inside, Jory Reid cut in. The marsh does not care for your southern quarrels, but it does not like strangers standing on its skin. It might decide to swallow us all just to be rid of your noise. They crossed the swaying bridge to the tower one by one. Cersei refused to stumble, refusing even to look down at the dark water beneath. She held her head high, a queen walking to the throne room. Tommen clung to Darren's sleeve, knuckles white. Myrcella moved as if in a dream. Inside, the tower was cramped and smoky, the ceilings low, the walls damp. Reed wives and children peered from doorways, eyes painted in swirling patterns. A narrow stair wound up the inner curve of the tower like a snake. The air grew cooler as they climbed. They put the queen and her children in a chamber near the top. It had one small window that looked out over the bog, barred with thick iron. A pallet bed with straw-stuffed mattresses. A stool, a chamber pot, little else. Still, compared to the mud and rain outside, it might have been a palace. Robb stood in the doorway, gray wind at his heel, as they cut the bonds from Cersei's wrists. The leather had rubbed the skin raw. Angry red marks ringed her pale flesh. She did not rub them. She remained very still, watching him. You have made a terrible mistake today, Lord Stark, she said quietly. There was no heat in it now, only a grim certainty. You think yourself bold and clever. In King's Landing we would call you something else. I have made a choice, Robb said. His voice sounded older in his own ears. We shall see if it was terrible when the ravens fly. You will never see us hang, she said. If my father lives, you will see your towers fall before he lets his grandchildren rot in a swamp. If he dies, his gold will avenge him. I promise you this. Whatever happens, you and everyone you love will pay for this day. She stepped forward until she stood very close to him. So close he could see the tiny flecks of amber in her irises, could smell the faint perfume that clung stubbornly beneath the sweat and bog stink. You should have killed me in the mists, she whispered. That would have been kinder. Grey Wind's growl rumbled low in his chest. Robb held the queen's gaze a heartbeat longer, then stepped back. We are not Lannisters, he said. We do not kill in the dark what we can face in the day. Her smile was a small, vicious thing. No, she agreed. You are Starks, and Starks die with their honor intact and their heads on spikes. When the door closed behind him and the bar slid into place, he stood in the narrow stone passageway for a long moment, hand resting on the rough wall, listening to the muted murmur of the children's voices behind the wood. Grey Wind pressed against his legs, warm and solid. Come, Jory Reid said softly, appearing like a shadow at the bend in the passage. There is food, and you must write your Lord Father, if this madness is to mean anything at all. The chamber Jory Reid gave him was scarcely larger than the cell they had given the queen. A pallet bed, a narrow slit of a window, a rough-hewn table with uneven legs. The air smelled of damp and smoke and the faint tang of whatever herbal paste the Crannogmen smeared on their walls to keep mold at bay. On the table lay parchment, ink, and a quill whose feather was mottled brown and green. A raven sat in a wicker cage by the door, watching him with one bright, beady eye, its head cocked. Cawed once, soft and questioning. Robb sat, the wood creaking beneath his weight, and stared at the blank sheet. Grey Wind curled under the table, muzzle resting on his paws, eyes half-lidded. Even relaxed, there was coiled potential in every line of him, as if he could spring to violence in the time it took a man to draw breath. How did one begin a letter like this? Dear Father, I hope this finds you well in the warm south, surrounded by enemies whose smiles are sharper than their knives. I have just stolen the queen from under the king's nose and hidden her in a bog. Please don't be angry. His lips twitched, humorless. He dipped the quill and let the ink bead at the tip. Father, he wrote. The word looked too small on the page, too thin to carry what lay behind it. You taught me that a lord's first duty is to protect those under his care. Here in the north, that means more than keeping our people fed and safe from wildlings. It means guarding them from those who would use the king's name to do us harm. He paused, listening to the scratch of the quill fade. Somewhere below, men's voices rose and fell, muffled by stone. A child laughed. Another shushed it quickly. The tower creaked in the wind. A living thing. You have gone south into a nest of serpents. I fear for you. I fear for Sansa and Arya. For all of us. Mother believes the queen and her family had some hand in Bran's fall and the attempt that followed. I know you asked for proof. I do not have proof in ink and numbers. He thought of the dagger, of Tyrion Lannister's fat, clever fingers turning it over, of Littlefinger's sly smile, of Catelyn's white face. I have only what I have seen. The queen's eyes, the blade, the quiet way your enemies move while you trust to the king's old love. He flexed his hand. The bite mark Cersei had left throbbed dully. He dipped the quill again. You may say I have been foolish. Perhaps I have. But I could not sit in Winterfell and wait for the lion to bare its teeth. So I rode south with men loyal to our house and sought the aid of Lord Howland's folk in the neck. Today we intercepted the royal party in the bogs. We have taken Queen Cersei, Princess Myrcella, and Prince Tommen alive. They are held now at Greywater Watch under the care of the Reeds and our own men. There. It was on the page now, black lines that could not be called back into the inkpot. I do not mean to harm them. They are hostages, not victims. They will be treated with such honor as is due their station, but they will not be free. I intend them as a shield for the north and a weapon in your hands. With the queen and her younger children in our keeping, Lord Tywin may think twice before moving openly against you. With their presence, perhaps we can force the truth into the light. He hesitated. The next lines felt like a cliff's edge. I will not pretend that I do not fear your anger. I know what treason this may seem, yet if I have erred, I have done so out of duty to our house and to you. You taught me to act when action is needed, not to hide behind fear of what-ifs. The wolves of Winterfell do not cower in their den while the forest burns. Gray wind made a soft, questioning sound, as if in answer. Robb reached down to rub behind his ear, then returned to the words. I ask you to understand if you can, to use what I have done if you must. If you decide I have gone too far, I will answer to you when you return. If you do not return, then I will do what I must to keep the North whole. He signed it as his father would have, Robb, Lord of Winterfell. The title sat uneasily under his name. He was not Lord, not truly, while Eddard Stark lived. Yet for now he held the keys. For now the choices were his. The raven rustled in its cage. Robb rolled the parchment, sealed it with gray wax pressed with the direwolf's head, and tied it to the bird's leg with careful fingers. Find him, he murmured, lifting the raven in both hands. Its feathers were soft and surprisingly warm. Find my father. Fly swift. Fly true. He climbed to the slit window and pushed it open. Damp air rushed in, smelling of peat and rain. The night outside was a curtain of gray, the bog stretching endlessly away. He released the raven. For a moment it hovered, beating its wings hard. Then it soared away into the mist, a darkness swallowed by more darkness. When it was gone, Robb stood with his hands on the stone sill, fingers numb from the cold. The weight of what he had done settled on him fully then, heavy and inexorable. There was no road back now, only forward into fog. The candle had burned low, pooling wax on the crooked little table, when Myrcella's soft voice pulled Cersei back from the spiral of her thoughts. "Mother," the girl whispered, "will Ser Jaime come?" Tommen slept with his head in Cersei's lap, lips slightly parted, the curls on his forehead damp with the lingering humidity. She stroked his hair without thinking, counting heartbeats. Outside, the cries of night birds echoed over the water, eerie and thin. "Yes," she said, "your uncle will come. Your grandsire will come. They will burn this swamp to ashes if they must." Myrcella nodded as if that answered everything. Her eyes, green as her mother's, slipped closed. Children believed in rescue, in knights on white horses, in fathers who could do anything, in uncles who were always just beyond the next hill. Cersei had once believed in such things too, before her father had crushed those dreams under the heel of his practicality. Jaime will come, she thought. That much was certain. The bond between them would pull him here like a lodestone. When he found out, he would tear the neck apart with his bare hands if he had to, drown 100 mudmen in their own bog. The thought warmed her. The memory of his face when she had last seen him, amused and half-bored at Winterfell, stung. She should have made him more wary. She had been too assured of their safety under the Stark roof. She had misjudged the boy. Robb Stark. He was little more than that. 16, perhaps, with a scattering of freckles on his nose still, shoulders just beginning to broaden. Yet there had been something in his eyes on the causeway that did not belong to a child. Something that had made her think, briefly and unwelcome, of Robert in his youth, of Rhaegar Targaryen on the Trident, of men who had changed the world with the choices of a single day. She despised him for making such a choice at her expense. She turned the day over in her mind, examining it from every angle as she might a complicated court intrigue. Where had the threads run? How had he known where to strike? Not by chance. The bogmen had helped him. That was clear enough. So the reeds had chosen the wolf over the lion. Fools. She made a list in her mind of every one of their names she would have flayed when she was free. Free. The word tasted bitter. She had been a prisoner before, she realized. In truth, she had been one all her life. Father's will had bound her in Casterly Rock, then Robert's in the Red Keep. Her cage had been gilded, its bars made of gold and expectation, but they were bars nonetheless. Here, in this damp little cell with its barred window and its straw-stuffed mattress, the prison was only more honest. She looked down at her children. Tommen snuffled in his sleep, fingers twitching as if chasing some dream. Myrcella's lashes lay in fine crescents against her cheeks, her breathing slow and even. They were the only parts of her that were truly hers. The rest belonged to her father, her husband, the realm. But these three, she corrected herself fiercely, thinking of Joffrey somewhere out on the road, oblivious, were flesh of her flesh. They had been taken from her. That burned worse than the dank cold seeping up from the stone. If Robb Stark thought that would make her pliable, he was even more of a child than she'd thought. Fear for her children made her harder, not softer, sharper. She would use that fear like a blade, cutting where he least expected. There was a knock at the door, soft, polite, not the bar rattling, not the scrape of a sword. "Who is it?" she demanded. "A guard, your grace," came a muffled voice, northern by the sound. "The young lord asks if you require anything. Food, water, extra blankets." She laughed quietly. "He would cosset me," she said under her breath. Aloud she called, "Tell your little lord that I require a proper bath, a feather bed, and the head of every man who laid a hand on me today. Failing that, I suppose a cup of wine will do." There was a pause. "We have ale," the guard said apologetically. "Of course you do," she muttered. "Bring it, then, and bread. Not that coarse black dirt you people call food. Something fit for a queen." "Yes, your grace." As his footsteps faded, she considered her next move. Rage would not serve her now, no matter how it clawed at her ribs. Tears would fare no better. These northerners valued stoicism. They would only think her weak. No, she would be gracious, dignified, unbroken. She would smile at their boy lord and prick his honor with her words until it bled. She would watch. She would listen. Every scrap of information she gathered now might be a weapon later. Her father had once told her that patience was a hunter's greatest virtue. She had not believed him then. She believed him now. "You will live, my little lions," she whispered, bending to brush a kiss across Tommen's forehead, then Myrcella's. "You will live, and you will see what becomes of those who thought to cage you." Her eyes lifted to the tiny square of sky visible through the bars. Somewhere out there, beyond bog and mist and leagues of forest, King's Landing burned in the sun. Ravens would be winging their way toward it even now, bearing news that would shake the realm. Cersei Lannister smiled, slow and thin. Let it shake, she thought. I have always liked to watch things fall. That night, the bogs glowed ghostly silver under the moon. Tendrils of mist drifted across the water, coiling around hummocks of sedge and half-submerged trunks. Insects hummed. Somewhere far off, something splashed. Perhaps a fish leaping, perhaps something larger. Robb stood on a narrow wooden walkway that circled the base of the tower, hands resting on the damp rail. The boards creaked under his weight, but they held. Gray wind leaned against his leg, head lifted, nostrils flaring as he tasted the night. Sleep would not come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the causeway again. The horses flailing, the flash of Cersei's dagger, the moment when her weight slammed into his arms. The look in Ser Barristan's eyes, his own voice shouting, "You dare." He had dared. That could not be undone. He thought of his father again, as he always did when doubt gnawed. Eddard Stark, quiet and grim, standing in the God's Wood with snow in his hair. He would not approve of this. Robb could hear his voice, stern as the wind off the wall. When you unsheathe a sword, you must be prepared to see it blooded. When you take a prisoner, you take responsibility for their life. Robb had unsheathed something today. Not steel, no, he had been careful with that. But something just as sharp. The Queen was alive. Her children were alive. But her freedom was gone. Her dignity wounded. Her safety his to preserve or discard. He had wanted leverage. Instead, he had acquired a burden that threatened to break his back. The walkway creaked again. Robb's hand went to the knife at his belt, but it was only Theon, coming around the curve of the tower with his usual careless grace, a flagon dangling from one hand. "Can't sleep, Wolf?" he said. "I thought I might find you brooding somewhere. It suits you. Very lordly." "I'm thinking," Robb said. "That's what I said." Theon leaned on the rail beside him, lifting the flagon. "Drink." Robb hesitated, then took it. The ale was stronger than the thin stuff they drank at home, bitter with some peat-smoked flavor, but it went down easily. He swallowed, coughed once, and handed it back. "Jory Reed tells me the Raven got away clean," Theon said. "No hawks, no arrows. It'll reach your father." "Good," Robb said. The word sat flat. What would Ned Stark do when he read it? Call for a horse? For an executioner? For a council with the king? Theon watched him for a moment, then nudged him with his elbow. "You did it," he said. "7 hells, Robb. You truly did it. You plucked the lioness out from under the king's claws and dragged her to a bog like some poacher with a prize stag. Do you even realize how mad that is?" "Yes," Robb said. "I do." Theon laughed. "Good. I'd hate to think I followed a man who stumbles into such feats by accident. They'll sing about this, you know. The Queen in chains, the wolf in the mists, all that nonsense. If we live long enough," Robb said. "Perhaps they will." Theon took another swig, then handed the flagon over. "You're doing it again," he said. "Doing what?" "Thinking like a Stark." Theon grinned. "Always with one eye on the grave mound. Listen, you saw her face, didn't you? You saw how she looked when Grey Wind had her hem. She was afraid. They're all afraid, underneath the silks. Lions, stags, fancy knights. They bleed like we do. They piss like we do. Half of them shake like leaves the first time steel comes close to their throat." "I don't think Cersei Lannister shakes," Robb said. "I think she sharpens. Then we'll just have to be sharper." Theon shrugged. "What's done is done. If your father's the man you say he is, he'll see that you had reason. He may curse you, but he'll use what you've given him. And if he doesn't," he spread his hands, "well, then we're all dead anyway, one way or another. I prefer dying after having done something worth the song." Robb snorted, despite himself. "You think in songs," he said. "You think in ledgers," Theon retorted. "Between us, perhaps we make something like a lord." Silence settled again, easier this time. The mist curled around the walkway's supports, pale and insubstantial. Somewhere within the tower, a child cried briefly, then was soothed. "Do you regret it?" Theon asked more quietly. Robb thought of Bran, of his mother's face, of the weight of the crown that had not yet touched his brow but which everyone seemed eager to place there every time they called him lord. "No," he said. "I regret that it was necessary, but not that I did it. If the lions would have left us in peace, I'd have let them ride. They won't. They never will. So we strike first." Theon nodded slowly. "That's more like it." Grey wind nosed at Robb's hand, and he scratched the direwolf's ears. The night air was cold, but it cleared his head. "You should get some sleep," Robb said. "Tomorrow we speak with our prisoners. And with Jory, we must decide how long we keep them here and whether we move them farther from the King's Road. And we must plan for Lord Tywin's response." "Lord Tywin is leagues away," Theon said. "King's Landing closer. Perhaps your father will have smoothed this over before the old lion even hears a whisper. Or perhaps not," Robb said. He stayed on the walkway long after Theon had gone inside, listening to the slow breathing of the bogs, the creak of wood, the quiet shift of water. Above, the stars were dim behind thin cloud, but he could see the pale ghost of the moon. "Watch over him," he murmured, not knowing whether he spoke to gods or luck or simply the night itself. "Watch over them all." Grey wind wafted softly, as if in answer. At dawn, the fog thinned. Pale light seeped into the tower, turning the damp stone a slightly lighter shade of gray. The cries of night birds gave way to the harsher calls of day. Crows, ravens, some long-legged marsh bird that stalked the shallows with predatory patience. Robb woke from a shallow doze with a start, heart pounding as if he had been running. In his dream, he had stood in the throne room of the Red Keep, a boy in simple wool before a looming iron chair, and watched as his father walked toward it with a rope around his neck instead of a sword at his hip. He had tried to shout, to move, but his feet were sunk in bog mud up to the thigh, and every struggle only pulled him deeper. He sat up, breath ragged, and scrubbed his hands over his face. Grey wind lay at the foot of the pallet, eyes already open, as if he had been watching his sleep. The direwolf rose as Robb swung his legs over the side of the bed, stretching with a ripple of muscle. He crossed to the window and pushed it open. Cool air washed over him, smelling of wet earth and new day. The mists clung low over the water, but above them the sky was the pale, washed-out blue of a northern morning. He spotted the raven almost at once. It was little more than a dark smudge against the brightening sky at first, but as it drew nearer, its shape became distinct: broad wings, ragged tail, the purposeful, straight-line flight of a bird that knew its path. "Is that the one you sent?" Jory Reed's voice asked from the doorway. Robb glanced back. The Crannogmen leaned casually against the jamb, arms folded, his paint-smudged face unreadable. "I don't know," Robb said. "They all look alike from here." Jory made a non-committal noise. "Ravens fly faster than men," he said. "By now, your father may already know what you've done. Or perhaps the bird detoured to share tales of your madness with every crow in the woods. Hard to say." "Comforting," Robb muttered. He watched until the raven was a speck again, then nothing at all. "South. Always south." "Lord Reed," he began. "Jory," the man corrected. "My father is Lord Reed. He would be amused to hear you put the title on me." "Jory then," Robb said. "Thank you for your help. Without you, this would have failed. Without us, it might never have been attempted," Jory said dryly. "But you're welcome, Stark. It is not every day we get to tweak the nose of the South so thoroughly. My father says old debt is a heavy thing. Perhaps this lightens it a little. My father saved his life, Robb said. At the Tower of Joy. Perhaps, Jory said. Or perhaps they saved each other. The Southrons tell that story differently, you know. In some of their tavern tales, it is Eddard Stark who is pulled from the rubble by a nameless Crannogmen. I like those versions better. Robb smiled faintly. So do I. They stood in companionable silence for a moment, watching the mists lift. The tower felt different in the morning light. Less like a trap, more like a pivot. A point on which the realm might turn. She is awake, Jory said at last. Who? Robb asked, though he knew the answer. The Queen. Jory jerked his chin toward the opposite side of the tower, where another narrow window faced the same stretch of bog. She has been standing at her bars since first light. I think she hopes to see her knights riding out of the mists to rescue her. Or your head on a spike, perhaps. Hard to say from this distance. Robb crossed the room to the other slit and peered out. It framed a different slice of the marsh, but the same pale sky. He could not see the Queen's window from here, but he imagined her there, fingers curled around iron, eyes raking the horizon. Keep her watched, he said. Do not underestimate her. She will look for any weakness. In the walls, in the men, in me. We do not underestimate our prisoners, Jory said. We have survived on this strip of land by assuming everything that moves is dangerous. Even the birds. Robb nodded. The weight of the day ahead settled on his shoulders like a cloak. He would have to speak with Cersei again, this time not in the heat of battle but in the slower, more perilous dance of words. He would have to keep his men steady, his own resolve steadier. And somewhere far away, his father would be moving pieces on a very different board. Today, he said, more to himself than to Jory. The North and King's Landing both wake to a new game. Jory snorted. We do not play your Game of Thrones here, Stark boy. We watch to see who drowns and who builds higher walls before the water rises. Then watch closely, Robb said. The flood's coming. He left the window and reached for his cloak. The direwolf clasp was cool under his fingers, the metal shaped like a snarling head. He fastened it, feeling the weight of it against his throat. Gray wind padded at his heels as he stepped into the corridor. The tower felt more crowded now. Men at every turn, the murmur of Crannogmen tongues and northern accents mixing. The news of what they had done had not spread beyond these walls yet, but within them, every man knew. Some looked at him with open admiration, others with wary respect, a few with something like fear. He met their eyes one by one. He would not hide from what he had become. When he reached the Queen's door, he paused. His hand hovered over the latch. Behind the wood, he could hear faint movement. Voices, a murmur, a child's question. He drew a breath. The road behind him had vanished into mist. Only this door, and whatever lay beyond it, remained. Robb Stark knocked once, firmly, then lifted the latch and stepped inside, into the chamber where a lioness waited in chains and the first true move of his war, if war it was to be, would be played. Cersei was already standing when Robb entered, as if she had been standing for hours. She had no chair save the edge of the bed, no throne to drape herself upon, but she held herself with the same air she wore in the Red Keep. Chin lifted, shoulders back, every line of her body a declaration that the world still belonged to her. Tommen flinched at the creak of the door, small hand clutching at his mother's sleeve. Myrcella drew herself up very straight, fingers folded before her, watching with wide eyes that tried to be brave. Gray wind pushed past Robb's legs to nose the air, hackles rising slightly at the enclosed space. The direwolf's presence altered the room at once, filling it with a sense of raw potential violence. Cersei's gaze flicked to the beast, then back to Robb. So, her voice was hoarse from sleep or disuse, but the steel in it was fresh-honed. The boy who would be wolf comes to gloat. I came to speak, Robb said. The door shut behind him with a heavy thud. Jory Reed's hand slid the bar home outside. The sound was dull and irrevocable. "There is nothing in this to gloat over." "No." Her mouth curved in something like a smile, though there was no humor in it. "You have done what no man has dared in 100 years. You have put irons of a sort on a queen of the 7 kingdoms. You have stolen 2 royal heirs from the king's train and hidden them in a bog. It is a pretty list of accomplishments for a boy. Take the pleasure in it while you can. You won't have it long." "I did not come for threats either," he said. "You've made enough of those." "And you've made none?" She cocked her head. "You think I do not see the leash you hold on my children's throats?" Tommen pressed closer at that, as if seeking to hide in the folds of her skirt. Cersei's hand came down to rest on his hair, fingers gentling automatically. The gesture was human, almost tender. Robb let himself see it, then put it aside. Compassion did not change the weight of what she was. "You and your children are safe while you are here," he said. "You will be fed, clothed, allowed such comfort as this place can give. No hand will be laid on you without cause. That is my oath as a Stark." "Oaths?" she said softly. "Your father loved those. Honor and oaths and duty. He built his life on them. Do you know what such men build, boy? Gallows." Robb set his jaw. "If you'd rather I broke my word, you should have stayed in King's Landing." "Ah!" Her eyes glittered. "There he is. The wolf's teeth. Show them, then. Bite. Snarl. It becomes you more than your father's solemnity." Grey Wind's growl rolled through the room like distant thunder, low and warning. Tommen whimpered. Myrcella's face tightened. "Peace," Robb murmured, reaching down to lay a hand on the direwolf's neck. The fur was coarse and damp beneath his fingers. "No one is biting anyone. Not today." "You tell that to your beast," Cersei said. "And to these mudmen. I saw their eyes when they dragged us through their filth. They would sooner drown us in it than look at us. Do not pretend you hold them all in a leash as tight as you hold that animal." "They are my allies," Robb said. "Not my dogs. A distinction that will comfort them, I'm sure, when my father's gold buys their deaths," she said. He did not rise to that. He let the moment stretch until the silence became something else, then spoke more slowly, weighing each word. "You know why you are here," he said. "You know what I believe, what my mother believes, what was done to my brother, to Jon Arryn, to the king even in your way." Her lips thinned. "Say it then," she said. "If you will brand a queen in your own mind, at least have the courage to speak the charge aloud." "I believe," he said, forcing the words out past his own reluctance, "that you or those close to you ordered Bran pushed from that tower, that you or yours paid for the dagger that came to finish him in his bed, that Jon Arryn died when he came too close to some truth you did not like. That is, a great many believes," she said. "Boys' stories, gossip, barefoot maids whispering in the kitchens. You abducted the queen on such foundation." "My mother saw the dagger," he said. "She spoke with Littlefinger and the imp. The blade was Lannister. Your brother's, they said, though he denied it. The man who came into my brother's room did not pay for it himself. He was too poor, too pitiful. Someone gave him that knife. Someone wanted my brother dead enough to pay well. And because the blade was beautiful, you think it must have been mine," she said mockingly. "Everything fine in this world is stamped with a lion? I'm flattered." Grey Wind rumbled again, sensing the tension rising. Robb's hand tightened on his fur. "Whatever you or Lord Tyrion did or did not do with that knife," Robb said. "It began with the fall. My brother loved to climb. Everyone knew it. He climbed that broken tower that day. He fell. You and your brother were seen on those heights. My mother saw something in your face when you watched Bran crawl. She knows what a woman looks like when she has reason to fear a child's eyes." For an instant, he thought he had struck home. A flicker crossed Cersei's face. Something like unease, something like memory. Then her mask settled back into place. "Your mother sees what she wishes to see," she said. "All good wives do. I was in many places in Winterfell. So was my brother. We looked on your cripple with pity. Nothing more. If gods or gravity chose to cast him down, that is their work, not mine. As for Jon Arryn, her eyes grew colder. The hand died of a sickness in his chest. It happens to old men. If he had lived, he would have seen that your father was a poor choice to replace him. That is all. You expect me to believe that? Robb asked. I expect nothing of you, she said. You are a child. Children believe what they are told. Your mother came home with her hands full of whispers and put T.M. in your ears, and you swallowed them whole. Now you have chewed more than you can swallow. His cheeks warmed. He hated that she could do that with a few words, make him feel small. He was not a child. Not after what he had done. I expect you to understand this much, she went on, voice dropping. If I had ordered your brother's death, if I had paid for a knife in his heart, if I had slain Jon Arryn to protect my own, do you truly think you would be breathing now? I do not play at my enemies. I destroy them. He studied her. There was truth in what she said. He felt it, like a stone in the current. And yet, truth did not always mean innocence. It meant that if she had moved, she would not have left such messy traces. I do not think you are the sort to leave loose ends, he said slowly. But I do not know how many threads run from you into that city. I don't know which hand paid for which crime. That is what my father must find out. What you must help him find out. She laughed. Help him? How? By writing a pretty confession in my own blood for you to send on a raven's leg. By naming names, Robb said. By telling the truth of who hates us in that court. Of who whisper against my father in the king's ear. Of what Jon Arryn died for. You have lived there, in that nest of vipers, for half your life. You know where the fangs are. And why would I do that? She asked softly. Why would I hand my enemies to your father's sword? Why would I betray my house to a boy who puts chains on me? Because your life depends on it, he said. Your children's lives. My father is not my grandfather. He is not like Rickard Stark to ride south trusting and die for it. He will not go blindly into the dark. If he can prove who moves against him and why, he can make the king see reason. He can put the sword in the right neck. And if that neck is mine? She asked. He held her eyes. Then you should have thought of that before you pushed my brother. For a moment he thought she might strike him. Her hand twitched, fingers curling as if around an invisible whip. Rage flared in her eyes, hot enough to burn. Then slowly it cooled. She relaxed her hand. A smile, small and vicious, curved her mouth. You are your father's son, she said. Honor chained to a wolf's temper. It is an interesting combination. Dangerous. For you. I will take your words to mean you will not help, he said. Oh, I will help, she said. I will help remind your father that his boy is playing at war with a queen's life in his fist. I will help Lord Tywin remember there is still one Stark in his debt. I will help Robert see that he cannot trust your house with so much as a cup of wine, let alone his throne. You have given me much to work with, Robb Stark. You have no idea how much. He felt the ground under him shift, as if the tower itself had moved. You cannot speak to them from here, he said. No raven leaves this tower without my leave. She tilted her head. You think letters are the only way words travel? Men talk, mudmen, northerners, wet nurses and stable boys. They will carry tales. I will say nothing at all, and yet my story will walk, while yours crawls behind it, panting. He turned to go. There was nothing more to be won here, not today. Gray wind backed with him, never taking his eyes off her. At the door, she called, Boy! He looked back. If you wish to threaten me again, she said, think on this. Whatever you do to me, whatever happens here, my firstborn is still in your king's train. Joffrey is a lion through and through. If he weeps for me, it will not be with sadness. Robb thought of the way Joffrey had sneered at Winterfell's men, the way he'd looked at Sansa, at Arya, as if they were things to be owned or broken. The hairs on his arms lifted. Then perhaps losing you will be the making of him, he said, and stepped out into the passage before the tremor in his voice could betray him. The bar dropped back into place. In the cramped darkness, Cersei Lannister stood for a time without moving at all, her children breathing softly beside her, her eyes on the little square of gray sky. Then she sat, gathered Tommen into her lap, and began to plan. By the time Ser Barristan Selmy brought the main column back to the place of the ambush, the mists had begun to thin. The frogs were quiet. The bog lay sullen and still, hiding what it had devoured. The wheelhouse listed drunkenly, one wheel half submerged where the path had crumbled. The gilded wood was spattered with mud and worse. One of the carved stags that had adorned its roof lay on its side in the reeds, its antlers snapped. "Gods," whispered one of the younger knights, crossing himself hastily. "It's like some beast took a bite." Barristan said nothing. He rode forward at a careful walk, white cloak dragging in the muck. The air smelled of wet wood, churned earth, and the metallic tang of old blood. They found two bodies still on the causeway. One was Ser Boros Blunt, what was left of him. His throat had been torn out. His right arm was a mangled ruin, the bone gleaming pale amid the shredded flesh. The other was a Lannister man-at-arms with a broken neck, his eyes staring up at the low sky. "Wolves?" murmured one of the guards, swallowing. "Look at the teeth marks. God save us. Did a wolf do that?" "Not a wolf," another muttered. "Too big. One of those dire wolves, like the Starks keep." Barristan dismounted slowly, his joints protesting as he knelt beside Ser Boros. The man's face was contorted in a rictus of surprise, not fear. He had not had time for that. A small mercy. He closed Boros's eyes with 2 fingers and rose. "My queen," Joffrey's voice cracked, for all that he strained to make it command. The prince rode up, face flushed and ugly, one hand white-knuckled on his reins. "Where is she? Where is my mother?" Barristan looked at the roiling mud at either side of the narrow causeway. There, the tracks were churned to chaos. Hoofprints overlapping, boot marks sliding, as if a brief, vicious struggle had played out in a space barely big enough for 2 men to stand abreast. Here and there, he could see deeper impressions, as if someone had been dragged toward the water. "The marsh has taken some," he said quietly. "We will need ropes, poles, men who know this ground." "We have men," Joffrey snapped. "Send them in. Drag them out. I'll have their heads if they hurt her. All of them. Every last one of these frog-eaters." "The neck is treacherous, your grace," Barristan said, gently firm. "If we send men blundering in blind, we'll feed the bogs more lives for nothing. Whoever did this knows this land better than we. They have gone. The marsh has hidden their trail." "Northmen," Joffrey spat. "It has to be. That cripple Stark's witch of a mother. Or that bastard brother of his. They've taken her. They'll answer for this, I swear it." Barristan looked at the ground again. Among the muddled prints, he thought he saw something familiar. The blunt, broad shape of northern horseshoes, the pattern of boots sized for men who favored thick leathers for the cold. And there, pressed into the half-dried mud at the path's edge, the faint impression of a paw larger than any hound's. "My prince," he said, "your mother may yet live. Whoever took her wanted her alive, else they'd have left a body. Alive hostages are valuable. Killing for the sake of vengeance alone will not bring her back." Joffrey's eyes, so like his mother's and yet lacking their depth, flared. "Hostages," he said. The word came out like a curse. "They dare hold the queen of the 7 kingdoms hostage? I'll kill them all. I'll flay them and—" "Joff," Robert said heavily. The king had ridden up unnoticed, his horse's flanks flecked with mud and foam. The crown he wore in the field was a simple circlet of dull metal, but it still seemed out of place above his sweat-slick brow. The wine flush had leached from his cheeks, leaving him pale under his beard. "Your mother would be ashamed to hear you prattle like a butcher's son," he said. "Hold your tongue." Joffrey jerked his reins, mouth twisting. "They have my mother," he said, "and my brother, my sister. We should ride north now. Call the banners. Burn this cursed neck and every house in it. You sit your horse like a sack of grain while Robert's hand moved faster than any of them seemed to expect. He leaned over and struck Joffrey across the face with the back of his hand, hard enough to rock the boy in his saddle. The crack of it echoed over the water. Silence fell. The younger knights stared. Joffrey swayed, one hand going to his reddening cheek. Tears sprang to his eyes, half shock, half pain. He bit them back, but they were there. "You will not speak to your king like that, boy," Robert said. His voice was low and dangerous. "Not if you value your teeth. I will have no talk of burning my own realm because your pride aches. Do you hear me? They have my mother," Joffrey whispered. "They have your queen." "I know what they have," Robert snapped. For a moment, raw fear showed through the bluster. "Naked and ugly. 7 hells, I know. You think I don't?" He nodded at the ruined carriage, at the blood-smeared causeway. "Look at it. Look at what's left. Do you see her body there? Do you see your brothers? Your sisters?" Joffrey swallowed. "No," he muttered. "Then they're alive," Robert said. "That means they want something. Men who want something can sometimes be bargained with. Men who are dead cannot. We will send word ahead. Eddard will know what to do. He was always better at untangling messes than I ever was." Barristan felt a flicker of relief at that. Whatever else might be said of the king, his instinct in this moment had been to reach for Eddard Stark, not Tywin Lannister. It made a difference. How much, only time would tell. "And if it is Eddard Stark who did this?" Joffrey whispered. Robert swung his gaze on him, and for a heartbeat Barristan saw the young man Robert had once been, the Storm Lord with Warhammer in hand, who had broken Rhaegar on the Trident. "Eddard would not," he said, each word hammered flat by certainty. "If I thought he had, I would take his head myself. I would not hide behind bogmen. Enough. We waste daylight." He looked at Barristan. "Sare, find what you can find. Bury our dead. Get the wheelhouse out of that mire or burn it where it sits. I will not have Cersei's prison left to rot on my road. Then we press on. We ride hard for the south. The sooner we get to King's Landing, the sooner we can start putting this right." Barristan bowed his gray head. "As you command, your grace." As the king wheeled his horse and rode away, Joffrey glared after him, eyes bright with thwarted fury. His hand strayed to the hilt of his sword. "They'll pay," he whispered, so softly Barristan almost pretended he had not heard. "I'll see them all pay. Starks, Boggs, all of them." The old knight watched him, and in his heart, something he had thought long dead stirred uneasily. King's Landing smelled of smoke, horse piss, and the sea, all muddled together into something both foul and strangely intoxicating. No matter how many days Eddard Stark woke there, it never smelled like home. This evening, it smelled additionally of wax and ink and old paper. The Tower of the Hand was quiet, the rumble of the city a distant murmur through the open window. Ned sat at his desk, the lamplight throwing his face into planes of shadow, and looked at the 2 scrolls before him. One bore the Baratheon stag in black wax, the impression a little smudged as if the seal had been pressed in haste. The other wore gray wax stamped with the direwolf's head. He had opened the king's message first. The script within was not Robert's. It was the careful, rounded hand of some maester in the royal party, though the words bore Robert's blunt voice plainly enough. Eddard, Cersei, and the young ones were taken in the neck. The wheelhouse attacked. Some dead. No bodies recovered. Looks like swamp devils. We ride hard for the city. See what rats scramble in the walls while we're gone. I'll want answers when I get there. Ned had read it twice, then a third time, then set it down with fingers that shook more than he liked. Now he stared at the other scroll. The wax was cracked from hard travel, but the seal had held until he broke it. Father, the word had struck him like an arrow. He had read Robb's letter as he had once read war reports. Slowly, twice over, sifting for truth beneath his son's brave words. By the end of it, his mouth was dry. He had sat for a long time with the parchment in his hands, feeling the weight of ink and choice. Queen taken, 2 royal children. In the neck, not by chance, but by plan. By his son's plan. The door creaked softly. "My lord hand." Varys's voice floated in, oily and soft. "Might I come in? Or am I intruding upon the North's private winter?" "You always intrude, Varys," Ned said without heat. He did not look up. "Come in, then. I suppose you've already heard." "The city has heard," the eunuch said, gliding into the room with his usual unctuous grace, hands folded within his sleeves. The ravens flew far and fast. By now, even the baker's boys are whispering that the queen was taken by bog spirits and that Prince Tommen was swallowed whole by a frog. Ned grimaced. "The truth," Varys sighed delicately. "Such as we have it from the mouth of Ser Barristan Selmy and Prince Joffrey, both of whom are emotional witnesses." The wheelhouse was halted on a narrow stretch of causeway. The queen grew impatient and chose to ride ahead with a small guard, the little prince and princess with her. Men rose from the mists. Horses panicked. There was blood. When the king's men reached them, the queen and the children were gone. No bodies were found. Some say they saw a great gray beast. He tilted his head. "A dire wolf, perhaps, but fear makes artists of men's tongues." Ned clenched his hand on the arm of his chair. "And the city blames? Who they always blame when anything goes wrong," Varys said mildly. "The small folk blame the great blame each other. Already there are whispers that the bogmen have gone too far in their old independence. Others say the Ironborn would delight in such mischief. Some, more clever, note that the North has cause to hate the queen. But of course, that would be unthinkable. Your house is known for honor." Ned looked at the gray seal on the second scroll. "Honor tasted bitter tonight." "Lord Varys," he said quietly, "what I am about to say must go no further than this room." The eunuch's eyes widened in mock innocence. "But my lord, if I kept secrets, I would be quite useless to you." "Then consider this one you must keep to be useful." Ned raised his eyes at last to meet Varys's. "Whatever you may hear, whatever is whispered or screamed, you must know this. If any voice in this city calls openly for the North's blood without cause, I will answer it. With steel, if I must." Varys studied him. There was no levity in that gaze now. The play acting had slipped just a little. "Have you had news from home?" he asked, soft as silk. Ned's hand went to the second scroll almost of its own accord. His fingers rested on it, not quite closing. "I have," he said. "Bad news?" Varys's voice was very gentle. Ned thought of Robb's words, of Bran in his sickbed, of Catelyn's fierce, desperate eyes when she had confronted him in the brothel, of little Sansa and Arya, here in this gilded cage, still unaware that the realm had just shifted under their feet. "It is news," he said. "The quality of it remains to be seen." "Ah!" Varys inclined his head, accepting the deflection. "Then may I offer one small piece of counsel, my lord, unasked though it is?" "Have you ever kept your counsel to yourself?" Ned asked. Varys smiled, a quick, sad twist. "Rarely. It is not in my nature." "Here it is, then. When the king returns, there will be those who urge him to war. Some will do it out of grief, some out of calculation. It would please many to see the North and the lions tear each other apart while they sit safe here in their stone hall and watch. See that Robert does not give them that pleasure." Ned thought of Robert's letter, of the line that said, "See what rats scramble in the walls while we're gone. I'll want answers when I get there." "I will try," he said. "But you know Robert. He does not always take the bit you offer him. He sees what he wishes." "Then perhaps we must change what he sees," Varys murmured. He glanced at the scrolls, then away. "Good night, my lord hand. Sleep well if you can." When he was gone, Ned unrolled Robb's letter again. The words seemed to shift on the page as he read them anew. "We have taken Queen Cersei, Princess Myrcella, and Prince Tommen alive." A memory rose, unbidden. Robb as a small boy, no older than Tommen, wooden sword in hand, insisting on marching at his father's side. "I'll prot. Isitu, father," he'd said, face solemn. "I'll cut down anyone who tries to hurt you." Ned closed his eyes briefly. "You have done more than that, my son," he murmured. "You have cut something open that may never heal." He dipped his quill in ink and pulled a fresh parchment toward him. He did not have the luxury of indecision now. Robb had made his choice. Ned must make his. He began to write. "Robb, what you have done is folly and courage in equal measure." The small council chamber felt more cramped than usual, as if the walls themselves were leaning in, eager to hear. Robert paced behind his chair, the armor he had insisted on wearing creaking with every movement. He had come from the yard still sweat-slick, his beard tangled. A half-emptied flagon of wine sat at his place, the dark stain already spreading across the maps scattered on the table. "Taken," he growled, "on my own road, in my own realm, while my sworn brothers rode ahead like blind fools." He slammed his fist down, making the cups jump. Grand Maester Pycelle flinched, his chain rattling. "These swamp people are hardy and cunning, your grace," he wheezed. "They know their land as we know our own hallways. We cannot blame." "I can blame whoever I bloody like," Robert snapped. "I'm the king." Renly Baratheon lounged in his chair, playing idly with a gold coin between his fingers. His green velvet doublet matched his eyes too perfectly by half. "The question is not whether we can blame the bogmen," he said. "It's whether doing so would be useful. Scattering ravens to the neck calling for heads on pikes will not bring your queen back." "Listen to my little brother," Robert said, dripping sarcasm. "He knows everything. He's sat in the city for years while I've been out fighting and fucking, and he's learned how to talk in circles like the rest of you." He glared around the table. "Well, say it plainly, then. Who do we blame?" Peter Baelish tapped a fingertip against his cup, smiling his slight, secretive smile. "If we speak of blame, your grace, the mob in the streets will put it on the bogmen. They are convenient, distant, strange. If we speak of benefit, however," Robert narrowed his eyes, "say what you mean or I'll have you thrown in that bog and see how well you swim." Littlefinger's smile did not falter. "I mean, your grace, that there are only a few houses in the realm who could profit by having the queen and 2 of your children vanish without a trace. Only a few who might be bold or desperate, enough to reach for such a prize in a way that leaves few witnesses and fewer tracks." "Name them," Robert said. "Why, the North, of course," Littlefinger said lightly. "House Stark, perhaps acting through their old friends in the neck. They have cause to resent her grace. They are far from your hand. And they are unused to the rules of the game as it is played here. They might think this a wise move." Ned's fingers tightened on the rim of his cup. He felt every eye in the room on him. He said nothing. "Let them look. Let them wonder. The Starks," Robert growled. "Don't be a fool, Peter. Eddard wouldn't do this." "Perhaps not," Littlefinger said. "But Eddard is not in the North now. His wife is, his heir. Perhaps they see things differently." Ned lifted his eyes, met Littlefinger's bland gaze, and held it. "My son is 16, he said. "My wife has a mother's heart, not a schemer's. Neither would snatch queens like tavern wenches from the road." "Perhaps not for their own sake," Littlefinger murmured. "But for yours? To shield you? The love of a wife and son can make people remarkably brave. Or remarkably foolish." Varys's hands folded and unfolded within his sleeves. "We should not rush to accuse the North, my lords," he said, voice mild. "To do so without proof risks breaking the realm in half. Spawned from grief and anger as this is, it would be unwise." "There is proof," Pycelle began, shuffling through a sheaf of notes. "Some travelers along the King's Road reported seeing riders shadowing the party days before the attack. Rough men in leathers with northern fashions. One even claimed to see a gray beast as large as a horse." "Travelers' tales," Varys said smoothly. "The small folk can be remarkably imaginative when questioned by officers of the Watch." "Imaginative or not," Renly said, We cannot ignore that the last great slight between the North and the Crown involved the Queen and a Stark child. Catelyn Stark did not make her feelings on the matter a secret when she came south. Whatever your trust in Lord Eddard, brother, there are those in the realm who will believe the North capable of this. They will call for punishment. I'll punish anyone who says a word against Ned, Robert snarled. I'll rip their tongues out myself. That will make for a very silent court, Renly observed. Enough, Ned said quietly. The word was not loud, but it cut through the room. I will not sit here and listen while you tear my house to pieces on the strength of rumors, he said. Robert, you know me. You know my wife, my son. We bleed for you. We have bled for you before. If some fool in a wine-sink mutters that a direwolf stalked the queen, that is wind, nothing more. Until you have proof that the North has raised a hand against you, speak no more of it. Robert grunted. I never said you had, Ned. No, Ned said, but others did. Let them know where you stand. Robert looked around the table. Hear me, all of you, he said. If I hear another man whisper that Eddard Stark connived at this or let it happen, I'll have his head. The North is my friend. You will not make me enemies where I have none. None. Renly murmured under his breath. Ned pretended not to hear. Littlefinger spread his hands. Of course, your grace. No one here would dream of. Dream all you like, Baelish, Robert said. Keep it to yourself. He drained his cup and slammed it down, slopping wine onto the maps again. We're done talking. The queen is gone. My young one's with her. The only thing that matters now is getting them back. Varys. The eunuch stepped forward, bowing his shiny head. Your grace. You say your little birds listen in every corner of this foul city, Robert said. Make them listen in the neck, in the north, in the Westerlands. I want to know who breathes a word of this before the breath is fully out of their mouths. I want to know who smiles when they think of Cersei gone, and gods help anyone who tries to use this to their advantage. Varys bowed deeper. It will be as you command, your grace. Ned kept his face still. The ink on his reply to Robb was not yet dry. He had not had time to send it. Already the web was tightening. Casterly Rock loomed over the sunset sea, a mountain of stone carved into halls and galleries, its roots sunk deep into gold. Within its heart, in a hall lit by braziers and flickering torches, Tywin Lannister read the letter a third time. His hands were steady. His face was unreadable. Only the muscle in his jaw, working slowly, betrayed anything at all. They took her where? Jaime demanded. At the neck, Tywin said. His voice might have been carved from the same rock as the castle. On the King's Road, the Marsh people helped them, it seems. The Marsh people, Jaime said, as if the words were an insult. We should burn them out. Every reed, every stump. I'll ride there myself. You will do nothing until I say so, Tywin cut in. Jaime fell silent. He still wore the white cloak of the Kingsguard, though it hung open over his chest, his golden hair unbound. In the shifting light, he looked younger than his years when he scowled, more like the arrogant boy Tywin had once whipped bloody for some childhood cruelty. They have my sister, Jaime said more quietly. Your daughter, He stopped, as if the words had snagged on something invisible. Tywin did not miss the stumble. He never missed anything. They have the queen, he said, which, for the moment, is the more pressing fact. The letter says nothing of Joffrey. He remains with the king. Our line remains near the throne. Taken by raiders in the neck, Jaime quoted, snatching the parchment. Queen and younger children presumed alive. No bodies recovered. That's all. His lip curled. Raiders. Bogs. Stinks. This is not the work of frog-eaters. No, Tywin said. It is not. He rose, the gold of his armor catching the light, and crossed to the great table. Maps covered it of the Westerlands, the Trident, the North. Small colored stones marked mines, bannermen's holds, passes. He plucked one of the stones from the Westerlands, red, and set it down over the neck. Then he took a gray stone from the north and placed it beside it. There is only one house with cause enough to move against the queen so boldly, and with ties enough to the neck to do it quietly, he said. The Starks. Jaime's jaw tightened. Eddard Stark rides with the king, he said. If I thought he'd had a hand in this. He did not, Tywin said. He is many things, fool for one, but he is not treacherous in that way. He would not spit in the king's face while sitting at his table. Not yet. His wife then, Jaime said. The red-haired harpy. Or the boy, that wolf cub. I saw the way he watched us in Winterfell. He had murder in his eyes. Murder, Tywin said. No, not murder. Calculation. The boy thinks he has done something clever. He has not yet learned the weight of what he holds. Jaime paced. We should send men at once. 10,000. 20. Let them see Lannister steel on the horizon. They'll piss themselves and send her crawling out to meet us. And if we do that, Tywin asked mildly, what does the rest of the realm see? A father rushing to rescue his daughter? Or a lion baring his teeth at the king's oldest friend? Jaime stopped. You care what they think? I care what is useful, Tywin said. We have enemies enough. Robert's suspicion is a blunt weapon, but it can still fall in unfortunate places. While Eddard Stark holds the hand's chain, we must tread carefully. What do you propose, then? Jaime demanded. That we sit here counting coins while Cersei rots in a swamp? Tywin's eyes flashed. Do not presume to instruct me on family, he said very softly. Jaime swallowed. For a heartbeat, some of the jauntiness left him. He stood straighter, like a boy called to account. I propose, Tywin went on, that we show the realm what is plain, that this is an affront to the crown, not just to House Lannister. The queen is the king's wife. Her children are his heirs. To snatch them from the road is to spit on the Iron Throne itself. He moved another stone, this one black, to the neck. Robert will rage. Let him. Rage can be turned. If we are patient, if we offer him our strength without overstepping, we can have him call our banners for us. And if he doesn't? Jaime asked. Then we find another pretext, Tywin said. The Riverlands are soft. Old Hoster Tully's health fails. His bannermen frighten easily. If raiders in Lannister colors were to be seen along the Trident, raiders we then rode down with righteous fury, the realm might forgive us marching in force. All in the name of order, of course. Jaime's mouth twitched. You mean to march on the Riverlands whether Robert gives the word or not? I mean to ensure that when we move, the story is one that suits us, Tywin said. Cersei will be found. Or not. But the realm will see that those who dare lay hands on lions bring their houses down about their ears. And what of the boy? Jaime asked. The wolf cub. If Robb Stark holds her, if we take the Riverlands and press north, what then? Tywin looked at the map, at the gray stone beside the red. Then the north will learn what the Rains learned, he said. What the Tarbecks learned. I will not leave my grandchildren in the hands of any man, wolf or frog. If the north has chosen this path, they will walk it to the end. Jaime's hand tightened on the back of a chair until his knuckles whitened. I'll ride east, he said, to King's Landing. If Robert won't give me leave to hunt those responsible, I'll know at least where he stands. And I'll see Joffrey. He'll be frightened. He hides it behind that sneer. But you will go to King's Landing, Tywin said. You will wear that cloak. You will smile at the king and swear him your undying service. You will say nothing of what we discussed. Let them think us patient. Let them think us slow. Lions only seem to sleep, Jaime. A thin, cold satisfaction flickered in his pale eyes. Let the Starks have their moment, he said. They have stolen a queen. For that, the world will applaud them. The world loves a bold story. It forgets, sometimes, that stories are not yet finished. He folded the letter carefully and set it aside. When I write the last chapter, he said, we will see how bold they look. The river's song filled the solar. a constant rush and tumble that had been part of Catelyn's life since childhood. As a girl, she had stood at this very window, listening to the trident's voice and imagining the far places it might carry her if she set a boat upon it and simply let go. Now she stood in the same place, a crumpled parchment in her hand, and felt as if the river were trying to pull her out of herself. Robb's words blurred on the page. She had read them so many times she could have recited them in her sleep. We have taken Queen Cersei, Princess Myrcella, and Prince Tommen alive. Alive. Thank the gods, alive. Her son had taken care to underline that, as if he knew what first fear would seize her. Alive. Hostages. Shields. Weapons. 7 save us, she whispered. Behind her, Brynden Tully shifted in his chair, the rasp of his armor a familiar sound. The boy has courage, he said, and more wits than I thought. You might have a king on your hands, Catelyn. She turned on him. A king? The parchment crackled as her grip tightened. He's 16. He should be worrying about girls, not queens. He should be arguing about where to ride for a hunt, not where to ambush royal processions. I left him at Winterfell with Maester Luwin and Ser Roderick to keep him safe, not to— Her voice broke. She bit down on the rest. Brynden's lined face softened. You left him at Winterfell to be lord, he said. You just didn't want to admit it. The North needed someone to mind it while your wolf of a husband ran south at the king's whistle. Your boy has done what he thought a lord must do. He has put his head and all of ours on the block, she said. Do you not see it? If the king believes we meant to rise against him, the North will burn. The Riverlands with it. Father's people. Hoster's folk. Our folk. If the king believes, Brynden repeated. Has he said he believes it yet? No, she allowed. But the Lannisters will whisper it in his ear. They already hate us. Tywin will use this if he can. Brynden snorted. Tywin Lannister does not need an excuse to bring his levies to bear when it suits him. This merely gives him a prettier cloak to wear over his sword. The question is not whether he will march. It is what we want waiting for him when he does. He rose and joined her at the window, looking out at the river tumbling below. The late sun painted it with streaks of gold. I do not say Robb has chosen an easy road, he said. But he may have chosen the only road where we have any say at all. With the queen in our hands or in our friends' hands, we are not tied to the same stake as sheep waiting for the butcher. We have something to barter with, to threaten with, to shield ourselves with. Catelyn closed her eyes briefly. You sound like a Lannister, uncle, he chuckled. I sound like a man who has seen too many battles to believe honor alone wins them. Your father taught you to see the good in men. Mine taught me to see the steel underneath it. Sometimes the steel is all that stands when good has been beaten bloody. She thought of Bran, of the knife, of her journey to King's Landing, of Tyrion's clever, wounded denial. Honor had not saved her son. Goodness had not stayed the catspaw's hand. Only luck and a direwolf's teeth had done that. The reeds will keep them safe, she said, more to herself than to Brynden. Robb says they are in Greywater Watch. That place moves. No one can find it unless the reeds want them to. Brynden nodded. I've never liked trusting men who live half underwater. But your father swore by Howland Reed. If anyone can hide a queen in plain sight, it's them. She smoothed the parchment on the sill, fingers tracing Robb's cramped script. He had written of his doubts as well as his resolve. He had feared her anger, her disappointment. He had asked for her counsel. I did what I thought you would have done, he had written at the end. The ink smeared as if his hand had trembled. I did not know how to sit still while they moved against us. If I have shamed you, I will answer for it when you come home. She thought back to that sick, helpless fury in King's Landing, to the way it had felt to stand in a brothel of all places and hurl accusations at a queen and her clever little spider of a counselor without proof enough to hang a cat. I would have done it, she said softly, if I'd thought I could. I would have snatched her myself from that road and dragged her south in chains. Brynden's smile was brief and fierce. Then do not flay the boy for having your courage, he said. Put it to use. She looked at him. "What would you have me do?" "Send to the north," he said. "To Robb. Tell him you will come. Riverrun has more men than Winterfell. The Riverlords will not abide Tywin's banners marching unchecked. If there is to be talk of war, better we are a voice in it. And if there is still a chance for peace, hostages in our hands and spears at our backs give us a stronger word." "Father," she began. "Your father will sleep and cough and mutter into his wine whatever we do," Brynden said, not unkindly. "You are his voice now. You and Edmure. Use it." Catelyn turned back to the window. The trident rushed on, heedless. "Robb writes as if he expects me to chide him," she said. "To call him reckless." "And will you?" Brynden asked. She thought of her boy, standing on Winterfell's walls, watching their guests ride away. Of the look on his face when she had left him with the keys of the castle in his hand. "No," she said. "I will tell him I am afraid and proud, and that whatever comes now, we face it together." She folded the letter, tucked it into the bodice of her gown as if to keep it near her heart, and turned to the table where ink and parchment waited. Greywater Watch, for all its damp and its gloom, contained life. Crannogmen children darted through the narrow lanes between low stone outbuildings, their feet bare and sure on the slick paths. Women with reed-woven aprons hung fish to dry in smoky sheds. Men mended nets, scraped hides, fletched arrows. The tower itself, squatting in the middle of it all, was like the stump of some ancient tree, its roots reaching out in causeways and bridges. Tommen shuffled across the central yard with his hands loosely bound before him, the leather more symbol than restraint. He walked carefully, wary of the slick patches. Darren Hornwood paced beside him, a solid presence, his big hand hovering near the boy's elbow as if ready to catch him if he slipped. Myrcella walked on Tommen's other side, her bindings already chafing at her pale wrists. "What is that smell?" Tommen whispered, wrinkling his nose. "Fish," Darren said, "and peat, and smoke. You get used to it." "I don't want to get used to it," Tommen muttered. A group of Crannogmen children watched them from a doorway, eyes round and curious. One little girl, no older than 6, had lines of green paint on her cheeks. She stared at Myrcella's gown, at the fine embroidery now splattered with mud. Myrcella, catching the look, straightened a little, as if remembering she was a princess. She lifted her chin in a way that reminded Darren sharply of her mother. "Do they stare at all strangers like that?" she asked. "At lions especially," he said, attempting a smile. "We don't see many golden heads this far south, or silk gowns. Don't mind them, they're just looking." One of the boys, bolder than the rest, stepped forward a pace. His hair was a tangle of dark curls, a bit of reed caught in it like an accidental ornament. He said something in the Crannogmen's dialect that Darren didn't catch. "What did he say?" Tommen whispered. "He asked if you're really a prince," Darren guessed. The boy spoke again, slower this time, patting his chest as he did. "Jogo," he said, then pointed at Tommen. "Tommen," the boy supplied, uncertain. "Tommen," Jogo repeated carefully, then grinned, showing a missing tooth. Myrcella's lips quirked despite herself. From the high-barred window above, Cersei watched it all. She stood with her hands gripping the iron, the metal cold enough to bite her skin. The yard below unfolded in miniature. The children, the guards, the wolf sprawled like a gray shadow on the steps, its eyes half closed. When Tommen stumbled on a slick patch and Darren's hand shot out to steady him, something in Cersei's chest loosened a fraction, then tightened again in a different place. The northern man did not shove the boy, did not sneer. He bent his head and said something that made Tommen's shoulders relax. "They are not hurting them," Myrcella murmured from beside Cersei. The girl had climbed onto the bed to see better, her fingers curled over the edge of the window. "He's kind. For now," Cersei said. "Do not be fooled by rough manners and soft voices, my sweet. They would gut you like a fish if their lord gave the word." "But he hasn't," Myrcella said. "Lord Robb, he has not. He could have. He did not." Cersei pressed her lips together. Her daughter's insistence on finding grace in others was a weakness she had not yet managed to burn out of her. "Kindness is a chain, the same as iron," she said. "It makes you feel safe while you forget how easily it can be jerked." Myrcella looked down again, at the Crannogmen children creeping closer to Tommen like half-wild cats. "Jogo," the little boy said again, tapping his chest. "Tommen," he added, tapping Tommen's. Tommen's mouth twitched. "Jogo," he echoed. The other children giggled, hiding their smiles behind their hands. Daeron glanced up, aware of being watched, though he could not see Cersei behind the bars. "They mean no harm, he caught himself. "Boy, they mean no harm, boy. You'll be safe enough with them. Safe enough. In a place like this, with walls half rotten and the ground itself trying to swallow you." The absurdity of it would have amused Cersei if she had been in a different mood. Grey Wind lifted his head, as if sensing her eyes on him. For a moment, his gaze met hers, pale and uncanny. She felt her skin prickle. "You see?" she whispered. "They keep that thing near my children. Callous." Myrcella glanced up at her. "It's only a wolf," she said. "Big, yes, but he listens to his lord. Sansa said that the Starks are different with their wolves. They're like family." "Family," Cersei repeated. "Family is a weakness other people exploit. Remember that, if you remember nothing else I tell you." Below, Tommen laughed. Brief, surprised, real. One of the Crannogmen girls had produced a rag ball from somewhere and tossed it to him. He fumbled the catch, then threw it back. The children shrieked with delight. Cersei's fingers tightened on the bars until her knuckles whitened. Let him laugh, she thought. Let him think this is some strange adventure. It will not last. When the world comes crashing down on this bog, I will make certain it remembers who it held here. She watched until Daeron gently herded the royal children back inside, until Grey Wind stretched and rose to follow his lord up the stair, until the yard emptied. Only then did she let herself sink back onto the edge of the bed, her hand pressed to her chest, feeling the slow, steady beat of her heart. "I will get you out," she whispered to the empty room. "Whatever it costs, I will not let the North keep you." The city had gone to sleep, such as King's Landing ever slept. The cries of hawkers and the clatter of carts had faded into the occasional shout, the distant bark of a dog, the dull roar of the sea against the cliffs. In the Tower of the Hand, only one candle burned. Ned bent over his desk, the quill scratching steadily. The letter he had begun after Varys' visit lay half-filled, the lines marching across the parchment. "Robb, what you have done is folly and courage in equal measure. You have taken into your hands lives that will shake the realm whatever is done with them. I will not pretend I am not angered that you did not seek my counsel before acting. I will not pretend I am not afraid for you." He paused, watching a bead of ink swell at the quill's tip. "But I know also why you did it. Your mother's letter told me something of her fears. I have seen with my own eyes the games played in this city, the way knives are hidden behind smiles. If Cersei, or any who call her ally, moved against your brother, if they moved against the last hand, then you were right to think they might move against us again. You acted to protect our house. For that, I cannot condemn you utterly." He frowned. The words felt clumsy, inadequate. How did one tell a son that he had erred without crushing the very strength that had led him to act? "You must understand, however, that every step you take now will be watched. The king has heard only that his queen was taken in the neck. There are already those who whisper the North's name in his ear. I have put a stop to such talk where I can, but rumors breed in shadows." He reached for the direwolf seal, turning it between his fingers. "You will keep the queen and her children safe. This is not a request. It is a command. No harm is to come to them by your hand or through your negligence. If they are hurt under our protection, whatever right we claim to have acted on will be ashes." He thought of Lyanna, of the bed of blood and the blue winter roses, of a promise whispered with her last breath. He would not see another woman's corpse haunt him in dreams. "Cersei Lannister is our enemy," he wrote. "That may be true, But she is also the king's wife, and those children are his acknowledged heirs. Their deaths would plunge the realm into a war it is not ready to fight. We have too many enemies beyond the wall and across the sea to squander lives in southern quarrels now. He could not write, I have begun to suspect more about those children. Not yet. He did not have all the proof he needed. His visits to the smith, to the brothels, to the armorers had raised questions, not settled them. When I know more, he wrote instead, I will send again. Until then, keep them hidden and keep them quiet. Trust the reeds. They have stood with our house since before the conquest. Let few beyond Winterfell know what you have done. He hesitated, then added, and do not let your honor choke you. You have taken a path where there will be no clean choices. Remember this, a lord's first duty is to those in his care, not to his own peace of sleep. Do what you must to keep our people safe, and pray the gods forgive us for the rest. He signed it simply, your father. When he had sealed the letter, he sat for a time with it in his hands, feeling the faint warmth of the wax under his thumb. His thoughts drifted southward, to the queen's empty chair in the council chamber, and northward, to a shifting bog where his son walked among ghosts and lions. You were always better at this, he murmured to the empty room, thinking of Jon Arryn, of Rickard Stark, of even Brandon with his reckless certainty. I am a poor player at this game. He rose and crossed to the window. The stars were pale and thin above the city's glow. Somewhere beyond them, the cold lights of the north glittered in clearer skies. Watch over him, he said softly. Watch over all of them. He did not know if he spoke to the old gods of the weirwoods or the new gods of the sept, or simply to the night. It did not matter. He needed something bigger than himself to hear him. Behind him, the candle guttered, flared once more, then settled back into a steady, stubborn flame. He took that for a good sign, though he knew it was only wax and wick. He summoned a servant and gave strict instructions for the raven. When the door closed again, he sat once more, elbows on his knees, head in his hands, and let the weight of the realm press down. News in King's Landing moved like fire in dry brush. A rumor born in the muddy alleys of Flea Bottom could be on a gold plate's tongue by evening. When the raven from the north arrived, bearing Ned's reply and a second, shorter missive, the heat in the air was palpable. They gathered again in the council chamber. Robert sat heavily in his chair, a fresh bruise darkening under one eye, an accident from the yard, he claimed, though Ned suspected a drunken stumble into a doorframe. Joffrey sat at his right hand, in a smaller chair newly brought in, his jaw clenched, the faint mark of his father's earlier slap still a shadow on his skin. Varys stood at the foot of the table, the black ribbon of the raven's message trailing from his fingers. Well, Robert demanded. Spit it out. Who says what now? Varys bowed. Your grace, my lords, a raven has arrived from Winterfell, from Maester Luwin, in Lord Stark's own hand. Ned kept his face carved from stone. He had written no such letter, but Luwin knew how best to present his words for southern eyes. It confirms what we feared, Varys went on. Queen Cersei, Princess Myrcella, and Prince Tommen are alive and in the custody of allies of House Stark in the neck. Joffrey surged to his feet. Custody? He spat. Hostages, you mean? Prisoners. Treason. Robert's hands gripped the arms of his chair. Alive, he said. Some of the iron left his voice. Say that again. They are alive, Varys said gently. Well treated by all accounts. No harm has come to them. By all accounts? Joffrey sneered. Whose account? The Starks? They'll say anything. Varys unrolled the parchment further. The letter claims that they were taken by a party of northern riders and Crannogmen acting on their own initiative, he said. In response to fears regarding attempts on the life of Lord Eddard's son, Bran Stark, and the late hand, Lord Arryn. Robert's gaze slid to Ned. Is that so? He asked. Ned could feel the gaze of every man in the room on him. He rose slowly. My son writes me separately, he said. He confirms that the Queen and your children are alive. He swears by the old gods and the new that no harm has come to them, nor will under his protection. He says he did this to protect his people from what he believes are plots against our house. Plots, Robert said. And you? What do you believe? Ned thought of the dagger, of the Book of Lineages, of Catelyn's fear, of Cersei's cold smile in Winterfell. I believe, he said carefully, that there are those in this realm who do not have your best interests at heart, Robert. I believe some of them wear lions on their breast. I do not know for certain whether the Queen herself ordered harm to come to my son, but I know enough to fear it. Joffrey laughed, a harsh, adolescent bark. You dare, he said. You dare stand there and accuse my mother while she rots in some mud hole your curs put her in. Enough, boy, Robert growled. She is your wife, Joffrey pressed. She carried your children. You should be marching north with every sword in the realm, not sitting here listening to this. He groped for a word foul enough and failed. Silence, Robert roared, surging to his feet. The table shook. You forget yourself. Joffrey's chest heaved, but he shut his mouth with a snap, knuckles white on the carved arms of his chair. Robert turned back to Ned. You know what this looks like, he said. A queen taken, my heirs taken, men whispering that the North did it to shield themselves. And now you tell me you think they might have had cause. He shook his head slowly. You put me in an ugly place, Ned. I did not command my son to do this, Ned said. But I will not call him a traitor for seeking to keep his kin safe. I ask only that you let me handle this. Let me write to him. Let me bring the truth into the light. Ride north in wrath now, and we may start a war that will drown us all. And what would you have me do? Robert demanded. Sit on my hands? Drink and hunt and fuck while my wife and children are held like some bannerman's daughters taken in a raid. Varys spoke softly. Your Grace, Lord Stark, does not ask for inaction. Only for measured action. If we march north with banners flying and trumpets sounding, we force every house in the realm to choose a side before they know all the facts. If we send envoys with words instead of swords, we may yet bring your family back without blood. Envoys, Joffrey spat. Weakness. Wisdom, Renly said. Even lions do not pounce at every shadow, nephew. Sometimes they watch. They wait for the right moment. Robert scrubbed a hand over his face. He suddenly looked very tired. Gods, he muttered. When did this all get so bloody complicated? We fought a war once. You remember that, Ned? It was simple then. They took Lyanna. We rode. We killed Rhaegar. We toppled Aerys. No ravens. No councils. Just steel. Aerys burned your father and brother alive, Ned said quietly. We did not know what had become of Lyanna until the end. If we had known she was alive and being used as a hostage, would you have stormed the Red Keep with the same fury? Robert's jaw worked. His eyes were far away for a moment, on a girl in a bed of blood and flowers. No, he said at last. No, perhaps not. He looked back at Ned, and something like the trust of their youth flickered there. Fine, he said roughly. You write to your wolf pup. You tell him he holds his king's wife and heirs, and that if a hair on their heads is harmed, I will paint the neck red from one side to the other. You tell him I will have the truth about this business with your boy and Aaron. All of it. If the queen has done what you fear she has done, He broke off, jaw tightening. I'll deal with that when I must. And in the meantime? Renly asked. In the meantime, Robert said, we prepare, quietly. I want men mustered along the Trident. Not in full force, just enough that if Tywin Lannister decides to go blazing off in a rage, we are not caught with our britches down. I want eyes on Casterly Rock and on Riverrun. And I want no one, do you hear me, no one whispering that Eddard Stark has turned his cloak. Anyone caught at that will answer to me. Varys bowed. It will be as you command, your grace. Joffrey's glare burned holes in Ned's back as the council broke up. The boy said nothing, but his silence was heavier than any threat. Word from King's Landing came to Casterly Rock on swift wings. The queen alive, the children alive in northern hands. No royal decree of war. No command to call their banners in full. Only careful, measured words about envoys and patience. Tywin read the message from the capital, then folded it without expression and laid it beside the earlier raven from the marshes. "So," Jaime said, "he means to talk first. He means to keep his options," Tywin said. Robert was always loath to move until he'd drunk on the idea for a while. "And in the meantime?" Jaime asked. "We sit." Tywin moved a red lion token from Casterly Rock to the border of the Riverlands, where the Golden Tooth marked the pass. Another went to the forks of the Trident. A third to the mouth of the Blackwater, near King's Landing. "In the meantime," he said, "we reposition, quietly. Ser Gregor will take a small force to the border to curb banditry that has grown bold in the absence of the king's justice. He will be careful where he burns. Enough to send messages, not enough to give Hoster Tully a clear banner to rally behind." "And if the old trout takes it as provocation?" Jaime asked. "He will send ravens," Tywin said, "to the king, to Eddard Stark, to me, all squawking about Lannister depredations. We will express shock, dismay. We will swear to punish any man who has acted without our leave. Perhaps we even hang a sacrificial knight or two, if it comes to that. In the eyes of the realm, we remain reasonable." "And Cersei?" Jaime asked. "What of her?" Tywin's hand paused over the map. For a heartbeat, the armor of his composure cracked, just enough for Jaime to glimpse the father beneath the lord. "We will get her back," Tywin said. "One way or another. A queen is not a sack of grain to be traded lightly. The boy will learn that." He gestured at the narrow strip of marshland that marked the neck, the line of the King's Road threading through it like a spine. "He thinks holding her there shields him," Tywin said. "Perhaps it does for a time, but bogs dry in summer. Loyalties shift. Fear grows. The more ravens fly, the more chances there are for mistakes. We need only one." Jaime leaned his hands on the table, fingers splayed. "If you heard him, Robb Stark. I mean to be the one holding the sword," he said. He looked at me in Winterfell as if he knew what I had done, before anyone else did. There was judgment in those eyes. I owe him something for that. Tywin's gaze was cold as he regarded his son. "You owe this family obedience," he said. "Nothing more. Leave the judgments to me." Jaime met his eyes, then looked away first. Old habits were hard to break. Tywin moved one last token, this one gold rather than red, to sit on King's Landing. "The realm thinks this a story about a bold northern boy and a stolen queen," he said. "They forget that stories shift. The hero in one chapter may be the villain in the next. When the dust settles, I intend it to be House Lannister that stands in the last page, not House Stark." He turned from the table, the lion of Casterly Rock towering in the shadows behind him. In the neck, in Greywater Watch, Robb Stark woke at dawn to another day of choices. In King's Landing, Eddard Stark sharpened his questions and hid his doubts behind a stoic face. In Riverrun, Catelyn Stark folded her son's letter and began to pack for a journey north. And above them all, like crows circling a battlefield yet to be fought, the ravens flew.